maybe it is. Okay, so it is recording, but it said failed to start recording, but it is recording.
It is recording.
Sometimes Zencaster just wants attention. It's very relatable to me.
I think so.
I hear that.
We're just gonna go under the assumption that it's working.
All right.
That's probably wise. And we've got local recording, so it's literally fine.
It should be fine, unless it isn't. But hopefully it is.
Fuck you,
well, listen,
dude.
if we have another lost episode, then that's fine. We deal with it like adults and deploy our many like emotional reasoning skills that we definitely have.
Yes.
To sort of like contextualize it and work through it. You know,
I'm a literal social worker.
I'm not worried. Yeah. I'm not worried about us. I'm worried about the audience.
Fuck them.
No,
they're gonna come after us.
Well, yeah, those guys don't have a lot of like.
What are they gonna do?
Like
give
emotional...
us $2 about it?
I hope they do. Please do. I was saying earlier before we started that like this is remedial podcasting, right? We don't, even if we get a good grade in podcasting because of the release schedule. No, we don't, and we know that. We're aware of that.
Yeah, we know.
I got through college turning in every third or fourth homework assignment, so.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, you did. I do love that I tweeted just to cause trouble today. We know. And I had seen the Greek Rail report, but I just left it open-ended, and then somebody got mad. Not mad necessarily. It was like, well, did something happen or not? And I'm just like, yeah, man. Like, have you seen the fucking shit out the window?
Yeah, every day of our lives, something happens.
I looked at that tweet and was very confused and started looking around.
Yeah, I also thought that like a 9/11 had happened.
It could have
been. You got
exactly.
both of us.
Yeah.
Woo! 9/12, baby. 9/11 too. This time, Muhammad Attaboy. Nothing. All right, let's go.
Hello, and welcome to Well, There's Your Problem. It's a podcast about engineering disasters with slides. I'm Justin Rosniak. I'm the person who's talking right now. My pronouns are he and him. Okay, go.
I'm November Kelly. I'm the person who's talking now. My pronouns are she and her. Yay, Liam.
Yay, Liam. Hi, I'm Liam McAnderson. I'm the person talking right now. My pronouns are he and him, and we have not one, but two guests. Please introduce yourselves.
Anders J. Lee here. Happy to be on the show. Honored, frankly. I am a co-host of Pod Time America, as well as The Vanquished, which is about failed presidential candidates. So super pumped to be talking about a not quite failed, but close to. He failed in a sense.
Yeah. And former purveyor of Russian disinformation.
That's correct. Yes. I was a Russian asset. I can actually say that. For 2.5 years, I was on RT America Network, and after the Ukraine war, all of the content I made has been scrubbed from the internet.
Wow.
Hi, I'm Freddie G. The other host of the Vanquished podcast about presidential losers. Yeah, super happy to be here. You guys were on our pod for the Prohibition episode. It's my favorite episode we've done.
That was a lot of fun, yeah. Prohibition Party, notably, had nothing to do with enacting prohibition.
But they are the oldest third party in American history still going, and have finally rebranded, as we discussed with Roz. They're now not for prohibition, but confusingly have not changed the name.
Yeah.
I think that the time is right for some entryism.
Maybe prohibition is more generic now. They're just in favor of banning things in general.
Oh, so they're like British liberals.
Yeah, exactly. You point at the albatross and you say banned.
Goddamn nanny state.
They're just like, cigarettes probably shouldn't be advertised. That's their big thing now.
Oh, I mean,
come on.
Yeah, okay, I guess.
Yeah, so my most, I don't know, what would you say? Conservative, maybe political
repressive,
stance?
Authoritarian, blue stocking.
Statist.
Oppressive, suppressive.
That's not my most statist opinion. My most statist opinion would make you throw up.
Mine is just ban sports gambling unless you are physically within a casino.
What about an off-track betting parlor run by the state, full of cigarette smoke?
Actually, there's one down in
Nationalize
South
the
Philly.
mob.
Yeah.
We did
New
that.
York State did.
Operation Underworld. That's a thing we did.
I was gonna say nationalize the numbers game, but that's just a lottery. Like again, they did that. They did this.
I used to live near an OTB, and it's the most depressing place ever to
Oh
walk
yeah, there's
by.
one in South Philly where you're just like, oh, I could feel the desperation from here.
Is this? Are you describing a betting shop, the thing that is on every British high street times a billion, as like a unique locus of despair?
But this is off-track betting. It's specifically for horse races.
Oh yeah, so betting shop, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so like
Right.
yeah, those are every third business still in like
Wow,
commercial
that's
areas in
fucking
the UK.
Graham.
Well,
Buddy, tell me about it.
we have this
Thanks,
wonderful new thing called skill games, which is like it's a slot machine,
But it's not.
It's not technically gambling because after you pull the lever for the slots, you have the option to do like a word search puzzle, and then it gives you your money back. But it's hard, so you need So
Cool.
yeah, exactly. So
Why are we
anyway.
looking at Jim Davis's iconic sort of lasagna-loving, Mondays-hating feline Garfield?
Yeah, what we see on the screen here is an orange cat with a pipe.
Mm.
His name is Garfield. It's not supposed to look like that because cats cannot be president and should not smoke pipes.
Toby probably thinks he can be.
Yeah, that's true. What we're actually going to talk about today is the assassination and subsequent treatment of President James A. Garfield.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
For the record, I looked this up a couple years ago. Garfield, the president, was shot on a Monday.
Any word on the lasagna connection?
I don't know if we had. I don't know if there was enough Italians in the U.S. yet to make that a dish here.
Yeah, they had to wait for Giuseppe Zangara to shoot FDR before there was an Italian presidential
Yeah,
assassin.
exactly.
Breaking barriers, you know?
He
Also,
probably did not like Italians.
Garfield?
He was probably anti-immigrant. This is around the time of the Chinese Exclusion Act. Yeah, he was probably like, oh, they shouldn't come here. No hyphenated Americans, only American dishes.
Yeah.
Who could say no to lasagna? Oh, there Freddie goes again.
The spice of an average lasagna would kill this kind of white boy.
Do you think they had lasagna back then, or is lasagna like another one of those traditional Italian foods that was invented in a hotel in Rome in 1960?
By an American. Looking at you, tiramisu.
Yeah.
It traces all the way back to ancient Rome.
Oh, so they say, but they say that about fucking everything.
What do you want me to do about it? I'm just reading the wiki
ancient
article.
Romans were eating like dormice and like fucking like plants that no longer exist because they over harvested them.
And garum. Lots of garum.
Yeah.
They would have had ketchup, but they didn't have tomatoes.
This Garfield that we have on the screen here, I actually prefer this to the sort of mutated version that Jim Davis, I believe.
The kind of chibi Garfield.
Yeah, he's wholesome, he's big, and it's almost like he's so big it's almost graphic. And I feel like maybe some of the publishers were like, Jim, you got to scale Garfield back. He's too fat. It's like offensive to some of our readers, and he caved.
It's a lot more realistic. This is a realistically like ugly cat. It's the same thing that they did where they changed The Simpsons. They hadn't dialed in on the kind of art style that they wanted yet in the first couple of seasons of that show. They look all like fucked up and sketchy.
Yes.
Same kind of vibe.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like Garfield's dad, like the dad who's on the cat who's on the show.
Yeah, this is Garfield's like racist dad.
Garfield's racist.
he's like, no, I'm not gonna see my dad in the hospital. I don't care how sick he is. He's gonna say that shit about lasagna and Italians again.
Well,
So my dad.
okay.
My dad Well, so my great uncle was killed in the Battle of Anzio for a little context, and therefore my grandmother, his sister, hated Italians. No matter how many times my dad pointed out to her, but that by that point the Italians had switched sides, and it would have been Germans defending Anzio. She was just like, nope, hate Italians, and he's like, okay, I guess we hate Italians now.
I love a kind of familial beef like that.
Yeah.
You know.
It's not racism so much as it is just beef with one country.
Yeah. Well, there's a ton of people. Like my my granddad used to like never ever drive in a German car because of the war, right? Like,
understandable. I wish I would have done the same thing, but I bought a GTI.
Yeah. Well, before we hate other countries, we have to start by hating our own country and ourselves by doing the goddamn news. So pilots are not woke now, and as a result, every single American has been killed. Donald Trump has saved us from DEI, and as a result, the planes are dropping out of the sky. You may know that, right after we released our 2 episodes ago, it was Air Florida Flight 90 that crashed, going out of Washington National Airport. A flight that very same day or the day after crashed into a helicopter on approach to Washington National Airport. So, I hope that something similar doesn't happen as a result of this episode. Oh, it would be terrible. That would be really bad. Yeah. If we had the kind of like lathe ability, I think we would be forced to use that very responsibly. Yeah, exactly. This is one of those incidents. This was American Airlines flight 5342. I think it was operated by American Eagle, which is like because they have like a agreement where
store.
No.
My
ass does look good in those jeans. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I forget what the smaller airline is. They operate some of these guys.
American problem, Eagle, yeah.
Maybe that's why it crashed, is because they put a bunch of the jeans guys in charge of it.
Jeans company in charge. Yeah.
This was
see our fashion episode.
That's why they call it JetBlue.
If you've lived around the Washington D.C. area, you know about the goddamn helicopters everywhere. It is kind of. I mean, obviously the investigation is not out yet. It is not so surprising that something like this happened.
Well, for a while the family didn't release the name of the pilot of the National Guard's Black Hawk that was in this collision, because they thought that because she was a woman and because she's like queer, the like MAGA chuds would be all over them, which of course they were anyway. There's no way to stop that now. Everything is because they put someone other than a white man in charge of any given thing.
Have you met Roz and I? We are the most incompetent 2 sons of bitches on the planet.
I was about to say,
and then as if to make your point, every other plane in the US has crashed.
Yeah, I was gonna say they have done some kind of mitigation here. I believe the particular route that the helicopter used to sort of dart in front of the plane, they don't use that anymore. This was, I think, a CRJ 900, which, there's so many CRJ 900s that fly in and out of National. It's incredible. I had to the first thing I did when I heard about this was I had to go look up my old rowing coach, because he flew a CRJ 900 in and out of National. I was like, damn, I hope it's not him. No, he has a podcast now called Passive Income Pilots, and is now a financial independence influencer, as well as owns a bunch of self-storage units. Shout out Ryan Gibson, because you're a public figure. I suppose I can name you. Anyway, did not die in this accident.
The highest praise you can offer any pilot: did not die in an accident.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing, there's one angle of this crash. I mean, okay, there were no survivors. This happened very recently, but this is this podcast, so I am going to make a joke about it. There was one angle where you could see the whole thing, and it looked exactly like when Randy Johnson hit the bird.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
They do use feathers. Da Vinci's designs were accurate in a sense.
Apparently, yeah.
Crucial National Guard flight full of like feather pillows for the White House.
Stained with Cheeto dust, of course.
Ugh.
I always
A
wondered.
big orange bird, like Sesame Street.
I do have a question that I feel like someone here may be able to answer, because I've always wondered this about flying, because they always say way safer to fly in a plane than it is to drive a car. But how are those statistics? How do they reach them? Because, you know, do they factor in the fact that there's like a tremendous amount more cars driving at any given time than planes in the sky?
I think the way you look at it is this, right? If you hit a Black Hawk helicopter at like, 700 feet above the Potomac and then fall directly into the Potomac, for that, it's way safer to be in a plane than it is to be in a car.
Yeah, I those statistics are always, they're going to be based on either distance or like hours or like, and they're going to be per capita and it's going to be all this stuff. Now, factually, before this accident, there had not been a commercial airline accident in the United States for, I think,
16 years, I think
16 years or something like that. Much like the measles outbreak that we'll talk about in the next slide.
Oh, my God.
Jesus.
So it was perfectly safe. For basically perfect record for a long time, as opposed to car crashes where people, just mutilate each other 100 times every day. The only thing more dangerous than driving per mile, I believe, is bicycling.
Really? I'm
Yes.
screwed then. Good.
Yeah, because bicycles just get,
you're fucked,
you get hit by a car, you die.
You know what is dangerous is relatively dangerous is general aviation, right? Like commercial aviation is very, very safe, but if you decide you want to fly the Cessna, you want to get in the machine that kills doctors, then it's not as safe. And so a bunch of the news stories that have made people very like aware of this idea that there's a kind of statistical cluster of shit going wrong with planes. A lot of that's been general aviation, and a lot of that just kind of happens.
Dentists and Cessnas, yeah.
Speaking of general aviation, I mean, okay, this one felt like it was a little close to home. A few days later,
oh yeah, the
Learjet crashed onto Cotman Avenue. Yeah.
This was the medevac flight as well, which really adds like insult to injury, you know, like because it was a kid as well, which is really like God's fucking sense of humor.
It's just
to be like,
finished.
Oh, don't worry, little girl, you'll be fine. We've got you the new organ and everything.
Safe.
Yeah, it's crashed immediately. I think they had just finished long-term treatment at Children's Hospital of Pennsylvania, or is it Children's Hospital of Philadelphia? I forget what.
Philadelphia, bud.
Yeah, okay. Took off from Northeast Philly Airport. They were heading towards Tijuana.
With a refueling stop in Springfield, I think.
Yes, and then lost control somehow. I don't think we know exactly what happened yet.
2023 Philly season, bud.
Plunged directly into Codman Avenue right by Roosevelt Mall, put a big crater in the pavement, set a bunch of row houses on fire. I think killed at least one person on the ground. Yeah, this one's pretty bad. I mean, that happened in a pretty populated area. So again, I guess the DEI was keeping the plane in the air. Then just a couple days ago, we had a near miss at Chicago Midway Airport.
Oh, yeah, I saw this.
Where another Learjet crossed one more runway than it should have.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Causing a Southwest Airlines flight to nearly land, but luckily the pilots spotted it and they managed to go around before like they engaged the speed brakes and the thrust reversers and crap.
Yeah.
So
God bless those woke Southwest pilots.
I was about to say. So there's apparently also unwoke Southwest pilots though, because there was that guy singing "God Bless America" on the PA on a Southwest flight. That's probably the worst
you gotta
aviation
be a fucking idiot to do that. You'll kill all of us, you know.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's
you gotta get the
God,
woke quotient back up there. You gotta get the like flight attendants doing gay shit with each other. Like, I'm so excited. Otherwise, you will land the plane upside down. Another thing that happened.
Oh, I forgot to put that one in. Yeah, that happened in Toronto.
Yeah.
Do we know if that was an American's fault? I just assume so, but
I assume everything is.
I don't know. We don't know exactly what happened on that one either.
You can assume yes, though.
There's so much stuff that happened. I mean, everyone survived that one, which is, pretty
miraculous.
Cool. They
offered them a $30,000 settlement each, to which, if that's you, if you're listening to this and you got offered a $30,000 settlement, I want you to put a neck brace on, keep it on for the next 4 years, and also laugh them out of court.
Yeah, I was
every offer. Wait until you get into 7 figures.
There was a Qatar Airways flight. I was watching the news yesterday where passengers alleged that they were forced to sit next to a dead body for 4 hours.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
that's not even uncommon.
I sympathize with that. You die, they got to put you somewhere.
That was exactly what I said. But my wife pointed out, I'm just I fly for free now. That's my fucking settlement. I fly for free now, and I'm like, yeah, how often are you going to Qatar? It just doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Well, one of the couple who was sat next to the dead body was nobody even asked me if I wanted a seat change, even though there were empty seats. It's get up and move.
Right. What are they gonna do?
Yeah, you're sitting next to a dead body. Why don't you take some initiative here? Because it's not going to.
Look, what you got to do is you got to descend to 10,000 feet, kick open one of the doors, burial at sea. make sure
the sea shall give up its dead.
Yeah. Make sure it's the rear door and not the front door. It's burial at engine.
Yeah, DB Coopering there.
Yeah. One of the things our new transportation secretary Sean Duffy said over a tweet was, pilots who do not follow air traffic control instructions will have their pilot's license revoked. And it's dude,
already will be. You can listen to the air traffic control of them giving him the number to call.
But that's also not how this is supposed to work. There's supposed to be an investigation, and you're supposed to be able to not be threatened, so you can cooperate with this investigation, so that these accidents can be prevented in the future. So if the Secretary of Transportation is issuing threats like this is going to ruin the entire process of investigation that surrounds airplane incidents, which is what has made them so safe for so long. Because this is not focused on punishment. This is focused on fixing the problem. But
it doesn't matter though, because they've fired half the FAA. So it's going to be one janitor left to investigate all of this stuff by themselves.
He never saw it coming.
They're going to get the one guy who's running Britain to be the one guy who runs all of America as well. Yeah, it's good to see.
I still blame Reagan. I still blame Reagan for. Oh, sorry.
Hold on. You go first.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Sorry. I still blame Reagan for firing the air traffic controllers in the 80s when they went on strike.
Yes.
Yes, you should.
Absolutely. PATCO strike, the outcome of that was completely insane. I guess Sean Duffy is, decided to, run the airlines with the same philosophy as the railroads, which is, if there's an accident, NTSB investigates it, gives some recommendations, and they're like, nah, I don't give a shit. Fire the engineer, move on. Or if the engineer's dead, problem solved.
Great.
Yeah. So, yeah. Air travel, folks, it's safer than ever.
We found out what Pete Buttigieg was doing as Secretary of Transportation.
Yeah.
Making sure. Yeah.
Sort of juggling every plane constantly. He's personally doing air traffic control.
Hey, this is fair. How can I help you?
Having kind of a difficult landing, I got to call the Secretary of Transportation on the radio.
He had to
guiding them in like airplane.
Yeah, he had to use all the skills that he refined stealing the election in Iowa.
That's right. He knows how to merge.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't expecting like shooting dogs in Afghanistan to be like a sort of transferable skill that leads you to like stop all the planes from landing upside down, but apparently.
Yeah. I am concerned. I keep getting job recruitment texts now, and I ignore them, but I assume it's for all of the people displaced by the anti-DEI hysteria. They're like looking for Anders Lees to fill these jobs. So I might be a pilot at some point, which I'm not
yeah, me
qualified
too.
for.
You start Tuesday, bud.
We're not all competent. It's a stereotype.
you got drafted into United Airlines.
So it's one of those positive stereotypes. White guys are competent, like black guys are good at basketball.
Yeah, we're not competent, Roz.
Yeah, no,
I don't know if you know this about us, but we're not competent. You and I have to be pilot and co-pilot tomorrow, so we gotta
stop practicing your Chuck Yeager voice.
I watched a lot of mentor pilot videos, so I think I got
all right, we're good.
this.
We're golden. We are not going to DB Cooper this thing. Let's go.
All right. Well, that was one piece of a lot of news, but let's look at the other news.
Yeah, we just kind of put all of the stuff that's happening onto this one.
Yeah, I'm calling this the bad news fire hose because I refuse to do another. Yeah, I refuse to do another Oops All News episode so close to the last one.
Just picture like a fire engine, like a pump, like rolling up to the scene and then hooking that hose directly to the sewage.
Yeah.
And then they're just gonna like hose down the entire house in liquid shit.
Yeah, like a European farmer.
Yeah.
Okay. What do we got? Department of Government Efficiency. The Doge. They cut
Shut
everyone.
the fuck up.
I wasn't expecting it to take only 3 months for the federal government to be just like wound up as a going concern.
Yes.
But, you know what? How mad at it can I be?
We had a run. I wouldn't say good, but we had a run.
They got everyone who's a probationary employee in the federal government, which is, someone who's still in training or someone who's
just got promoted.
Yeah, got promoted. So anyone who is moving up, anyone who is, maybe replacing an old guy, no, they cut those guys. So, that's not happening. I think one of the worst ones I saw, I mean, this just seemed like a small human thing, was like, oh yeah, I was the trainee locksmith at Yosemite National Park. Because it's so big, they need a dedicated locksmith for the whole park. And they were like, he finished his training and he was about to replace the old guy. And it's like, nope, you're fired, you're out, you're done.
There's a whole bunch of like lawsuits about this, as you might imagine. I mean, my feeling is, right, obviously I'm not going to mourn the kind of the federal government in a lot of ways, but for the fact that it affects a lot of my friends live in the US, and also it turns out the US government does do a bunch of important stuff, mostly in US aid, which is now dead. Yeah, that's gone now.
Which is sinful, I think is the word you want.
Yeah.
They also fired a bunch of people from Department of Energy, which
all the people who are safeguarding the nukes are just gone now.
They haven't quite had the Rick Perry realization where he gets appointed to Department of Energy and he's like, oh, this department handles the nukes.
They give him the briefing that's like, you kind of have more power than like most heads of state right now. Because they haven't done that. Trump just did the first cabinet meeting, which had Musk at it, fucking hanging out like Grima Wormtongue. So they don't know what they're doing other than like getting in charge of the agency, doing Control F trans, and then firing anyone and like removing any program that comes up, which is short-sighted, let's say.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you see today they are cutting the hundreds of people from NOAA, the oceanic inspectors?
Yes.
Oh yeah, they're gonna have to shut down a Weather Channel.
I've had a bunch of friends who work for the federal government and are trans get fired off of that combination. There's this kind of like they're scrubbing all the like trans and queer people out of the intelligence community, which means you can't even get the like the sort of the trans women who are willing to make the kind of like waterboarding architecture work anymore.
I was about to say there's got to be it's also all the people at Doge are going into all these old systems that are run on like COBOL and Fortran and stuff like that. And it's like, the only people who really know how those systems work at this point and can program those languages are either, 75 and past retirement, or, they own 5 Blahages.
And both of them are fired as well.
Yeah, exactly. What else do we got? There's a measles outbreak in Texas, which has killed a kid.
So fucking stupid. The child was unvaxxed. The daycares
vaccinate your kids while you still can.
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
still allowed. Oh, they need to redacted RFK Jr. like yesterday.
I think he
Shocking.
might redact himself. Have you heard him?
The worm is the worm is progressing.
It's real in there, yeah.
I will
Shocking that would happen in Texas.
Yeah.
It was like Texas Mennonites apparently.
Yeah, you can get religious exemptions and parental exemptions in Texas very easily.
Yeah.
I will confess, I was unvaxxed for a little while, as longer than I should have been as a kid. Certain people in my family drew a connection between vaccines and autism, and RFK's group, the Children's Defense Fund, had a bill in the Minnesota State Legislature at the time, and I got to be one of the quote unquote autistic kids that they put in the front row to like take the Marisol out of vaccines.
Stop, keep going, but the recording just crashed.
Oh God.
Okay, I thought that was just something on my end. Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, nope, just keep going. We're doing it with locals.
Yeah, we'll do it with locals. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, sure.
Yes. Autism.
Well, I mean, I got 100% vaccinated, 100% autism, no regrets, trans as well. So, really, I think that's the success story.
I think it's just there's something else in the air causing the autism. I think
possibly. Maybe it's the microplastics. Maybe I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, I've got it working for me. So
exactly.
I feel pretty good about this.
I think it's worked pretty well for all of us. I don't.
I mean, more and more people are going to become autistic because they keep changing the definition. So eventually we will reach 100% and we'll start
oppressing the neurotypicals.
Yeah.
Yes.
Meanwhile, like I feel like whether you have like a good federal job, like you want to make sure the kids are educated or vaccinated or housed or whatever, or you have like an evil government job, it doesn't even matter. Like the rain falls on the just and the unjust alike, and it's right now it's just so self-sabotaging in terms of not just like human suffering, but like the things that even Trump guys profess to want, and it doesn't matter because they're just out for like raw sadism.
They're out for blood, right?
Yeah.
What else is happening here? They are moving trans women to men's prisons and trans men to women's prisons.
Fuck yeah.
Presumably to suffer just horrific abuse. That's going to be real bad. U.S. prisons are pretty bad to start out with. But, some of the practices there are,
heinously unjust. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think we can even, very bad.
We'll do an episode on the U.S. prison system eventually, which I think will just be us screaming for 4.5 hours.
U.S. aid has been essentially eliminated. I know a lot of it's CIA bullshit, but a lot of it's also good.
Well, that's the way in which it's effective CIA bullshit is because
true,
it's genuinely very effective to get people to
Soft
like the
power is
United
the thing
States
that
by
works, right.
doing things that help them and that they like, right?
All this stuff's going to come back to bite us as well. It's like, okay, well, we're not like preventing Ebola or AIDS in Africa. That shit's just going to spread and get us eventually. Yeah, I think so. We're steering directly into the iceberg.
I will say I made a joke to my doctor a couple of years ago when I was first seeing her, and she was like, "Oh, we had the flu vaccine," and I was like, "Oh, I'm religiously opposed to vaccines," and she stared at me for like a good 15 to 20 seconds and goes, "Are you?" Like, no, and I was like, "No, ma'am, light me up, baby. I'm very afraid. Light me up."
Oh, hold on, this is a technical thing. If Andrew stopped the recording briefly, we should do a second sync point. We didn't do the first sync point.
First one?
No, that was moronical. Shit. Devin's going to kill us.
Yeah, sorry, Dev.
Hi, Devin.
Hi, Dev. We love you.
Yeah. All right. We're going to do a 3, 2, 1 mark. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Just clap when you hear Mark.
Yeah. Mark.
Good enough.
Okay. All right.
Good.
All right.
Fine.
We did it. My God.
We're
so good
stupid.
at podcasting.
So fucking stupid. This is why they're sending us to remedial podcasting.
Yeah. So the good news is, in only 3 years' time, there's going to be House and Senate elections, which I assume will happen, and be you'll be able to vote freely in those for your sort of like blue wave of Democrats who are going to get in and absolutely wield power.
Yeah. Wow, you sound confident there, Nova.
The Democrat strategy.
You're never going to get to fucking vote again in your life, dude.
I think it may be on like a ballot proposition, to like for exactly where the concentration camps will be located.
There was I did have something cool happen to me at work today, where we had someone from a local church, Lutheran church that gives us money, come in, and the woman noticed from the church, she noticed that we have all gender restrooms, and she points to the sign and goes, "That's fucking right." And I was like, thank you, but like, you're 80 years old. Like, you should not be cursing like this that passionately. I am a little offended by your choice of words.
She's right though. You gotta try and like cling to whatever little signs of wokeness you can.
Oh yeah, I'm doing it. I'm a social worker, baby. I'm as woke as it gets.
So yeah, the explicit strategy of the Democrats right now seems to be to do nothing.
Shit all over the place.
See if you can wait it out. See if the administration implodes on its own. I mean, I think it will implode, but I think the essential functions of government implode first, and we wind up in a sort of Mad Max situation. And like, I don't have enough, S&M gear to live in that world.
I don't like that you said
I
that.
do, but that leads us to our next item, which is
Christ on sale.
I have to enter the blasted wastelands of the former United States for the tour that's coming up, right?
Yes.
I gotta do that. And fucking little Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, in a drive to try and ban trans athletes from the Olympics, has instituted this provision.
Instituted. The language is unclear.
No, it may just apply to like all visas at all. That if you apply for one and you're trans and you're like socially transitioned in any way, that's fraud and you're banned from the United States forever. Thus, fucking the tour into a cocked hat.
I was about to say
which is extremely on brand.
Yeah. I'm talking to our immigration lawyers about it now, for all the good that'll do, because I'm not sure that they even have a direct answer either.
No one knows what the hell is going on. Yeah, I mean,
no, and it may well be that I get to pay, or the podcast gets to pay the federal government literally like about $6,000 in fees that's going to go to like Elon Musk's fucking groiper children or whatever.
Jesus Christ.
We pay them the fees. I go to like a sort of like a consular like interview in London or in Edinburgh where they go trans and I get banned from the entire country. It may well be that I get to the airport and they just fucking like arrest me and deport me. I don't know.
We have the lawyers.
They simply
have
wave
the money,
you through, which would be the funniest. Yeah, we have the money.
We have the lawyers. We have the money. We don't have the third thing.
Yeah. The two parts of the Warren Zevon triad.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't want to resort to the third part of the triad yet.
But I will.
It is crazy that Elon only has male children. Like he hates diversity so much. All his children have to be the same gender.
And even that didn't work.
That's the end goal of these guys, is that you're gonna wind up with everyone becoming Elon, and then they're all gonna have male children, and the whole generation is gonna grow up, and they're gonna be like, oh fuck, what did our parents do? Shit.
It's a drop
and
in
then
the
there's not another generation.
It's a drop in the bucket, but if all the kids are male, then we're gonna lower the birth rate.
Yes, to 0.
Good. But it didn't even work though. He's got a trans daughter that he's like estranged from. Yes, we're fucking idiot.
What else?
Is there a way you can use Secure to maybe negotiate some kind of settlement for your situation?
That guy loves British trans women. Yeah, he'll I think he's an ally.
Yeah.
You're an entrepreneur traveling,
That's
engaging
true.
in
That's a good point.
trade
That's a good point.
with the U.S. the way it's supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah, the special relationship,
We shall see.
Yeah. You're not in the EU, the hated EU. What else? They're trying to do a Bitcoin reserve. I don't understand how this works.
How? What?
Yeah. They want to exchange a bunch of gold
my
certificates for Bitcoin. I read an article by what's his name, who was just on Trash Future, who explained how this worked, and my brain imploded. Because I just couldn't understand what was going on. I know a little bit about finance, but not that much.
It's basically just a bribe for like Bitcoin guys, is all it is.
They're going to replace the gold in Fort Knox with Bitcoin.
Yes.
They're going to Fort Knox to see if Boric Goldfinger has stolen all of it.
No, it's all irradiated. Maybe they'll just, get radiation poisoning in there. And
one hopes, baby.
what else? They're doing some kind of thing right now where they're ordering all government agencies to do a reduction in force to the point where they would be operating as if there was a government shutdown. So they want to do a permanent government shutdown.
Federal judge just blocked the mass firings, for what that's worth.
Wow, that's good. That's good. Steve Bannon did a Nazi salute at some conference.
CPAC, I think.
CPAC.
All of them are like open Nazis now because they don't feel like they have to hide it. Which means we were right. That vindicates us and anybody who was in the comments being like, I don't know if I think the rhetoric might be a little strong. No. They're all Nazis. They're literally all Nazis. And you were a fucking idiot.
And eventually
we were right.
get to the point where they, God willing, follow their leader.
They're inviting the January 6th prison choir to the Kennedy Center.
That's not real, is it?
No, that's completely real.
What?
Yeah.
What were they learning in there?
Music.
Where the circle be unbroken 400 times. Great fucking song, just not by those guys.
The United States has pressured Romania to release Andrew Tate.
What?
It's between this and the prison stuff. It's a pro-rape administration, right?
Yeah,
pro-rape
pretty
and
much.
pro-rapists.
They love raping. What is
love to be a social worker working with survivors of domestic violence in this political climate. It feels great.
Yeah, rape, murder, arson, and rape.
I like arson and murder. I don't like the other tale.
Yeah.
I really still don't get the. I've stopped trying to make sense of the Trump administration, but I really don't see the angle for giving amnesty and safe passage to Andrew Tate.
More like Andrew Taint.
It's literally said something nice about Trump one time.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just personal loyalty.
And now he's going to be like the Secretary of State in Florida.
Well, he's way less transphobic than anyone in this administration. That's the funny thing.
Have you seen the Hulk Hogan, Megan Fox video?
Jesus Christ, no.
I have not seen that, no.
So Andrew Tate is saying to his followers, he's like, would you have sex with, this is his words, Hulk Hogan with a pussy or Megan Fox with a cock? As he
I do remember this. Yeah.
So
I like to support moderate liberalizing influences within the Trump administration, Andrew Tate.
The Trump administration is going after congestion pricing in New York City.
Oh, they're not going to have it. They're not going to have it.
Just to trigger the libs effectively.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that the New York State is currently arguing that, if they want to end congestion pricing, they have to do another National Environmental Policy Act study, which will take another decade. So
yeah, good.
Let's see if that works.
I like that. I do really like that. Just we're just gonna run the clock on this one, boys.
Yeah. They're also trying to fuck with California high-speed rail and don't seem to have done it very well. In sort of the normal sort of awful news that has continued to happening, I think Union Pacific derailed 2 freight trains at pretty high speeds in Nebraska on the same day. Again,
wow,
that's normal.
I'm shocked by that.
Yeah. And Trump is using the CNO desk.
What?
Because Elon Musk's kid wiped a booger on the Resolute desk. He swapped it out for the CNO desk.
Oh,
I
Cool.
discussed this on a recent episode of Worst of All Possible Worlds, if you want more details and learn about the Van Swearingen brothers and why this is the incest desk.
Interesting.
Yes.
what does CNO stand for?
Chesapeake and Ohio.
Oh, okay.
This was owned by this desk was built when the Van Sweringens, who are the brothers who built Cleveland, owned the Chesapeake and Ohio, and they had a few desks built. And through a series of owners, they wound up in the White House. This was the favorite desk of George H.W. Bush. And the other thing about the Van Sweringens was they lived together in one room in a 55-room mansion. Their entire lives, they were never seen in public individually, always together. They shared a bed, and they're buried together in the same cemetery under one headstone that just reads Brothers.
Unwholesome.
Yeah.
Family is weird, man.
Oh, and their names were Oris Paxton Van Sweringen and Mantis James Van Sweringen.
The things that desk has seen.
Yeah, exactly. Well, from the way it's constructed, it
Were they
does look
twins?
like, no, I think they were a little bit apart in age. I think.
Just Trump hitting his little Diet Coke button, which is back, by the way. I'm looking at a photo
God.
a photo a couple of days ago from him in the Oval Office, and the Diet Coke button is back. Him pushing the Diet Coke button is resting on a surface that has seen the unseemly love between brother and brother.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's all I got for the bad news fire hose. Let's look at some good news. The birds won.
Yeah.
Finally, a reason to live.
Yeah, exactly.
Slow down.
I watched this live at like 3 a.m. I had a great time. And yeah, it was perfect. Everything about it was perfect, apart from the fact that the Chiefs put points on the board. But aside from that, like, you know, Kendrick Lamar was there. He did the song about how Drake is a pedophile. Other than that, there was some football. It went very well. Yeah, great, fantastic.
Whole city came out.
Never
for the
kill
parade.
yourself.
What'd you say?
I think Steve Spagnuolo, the Chiefs defensive coordinator, did such a bad job that Italians are now no longer going to be considered white again.
Have I got news for you?
He's going to be, lumped in the anti-woke backlash.
Hiring Italians is DEI now.
Yeah.
Diversity,
Well, the
equality,
Eagles-
and Italians.
Well, the Eagles refuse to go to the White House, so they are woke.
Maybe.
Like,
Maybe.
conflicting
Yeah, that's still up in the air.
well, I mean, listen, like of the like Eagles say offensive line, right? It's like 4 MAGA guys minimum, but
Yeah,
that's just what it is. That's
That's
football.
that's
right?
the
more
reverse
race-
of the Phillies.
The more racist your O-line is, the better they're going to protect their black quarterback. We all know this. Don't get mad at me in the comments. You don't get mad at me in the comments. I want a
They
big,
don't
fat
make a guy
Oklahoma
that
boy.
shape who isn't racist. It just I don't mean to do like phrenology about it, but they just
You
don't.
could do phrenology on Lane Johnson. It's fine. He'll understand.
I bet it's just going to be Cooper DeJean who shows up.
Yeah, and maybe Tanner McKee.
I mean, if you think about it, Cooper DeJean's having a fantastic few weeks because, like, okay, yeah, obviously, like, pick 6, win the Super Bowl on your birthday, sure, but also all the Trump stuff, right? Like, so not only is he winning personally, he's also winning politically.
That's a good point. Yeah. Although a lot of these Trump guys, well, he's probably not paying attention to the news. He's just seeing the libs being triggered. So yeah, I don't know. You know, I know that like a lot of business guys are starting to get a little bit antsy about Trump. You know, it's like, ah, shit, what did we do?
All right, do the business plot, but wokely.
Yeah.
The woke business plot.
Woke business DEI
We gotta find the U.S. Marine Corps' wokest general.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be Smedley Butler. I mean,
Take him up, boys. Take him up, boys.
yeah.
Died in Philadelphia. Take him up.
Still top of the leaderboard for wokest Marine.
Yeah.
I was gonna say they don't want things to collapse until they get their tax cut.
Although I feel like you could get your tax cut under anyone, and it wouldn't be as weird as this.
That's true. That's true. I don't think they're going to cut taxes.
Get JD Vance in the conference room from Network. It's like, listen, you cut taxes, or we'll do to you what we did to Trump.
With all these tariffs, they won't need taxes. Is the working theory anyway?
If they can ever get them implemented, they keep delaying them again and again. It's like, come on, coward, hit me. Come on.
Real trade war has never been tried.
Yeah.
We're gonna find out, buddy.
And in more somber news,
Jarring shift in tone. Unfortunately, our fourth and most beloved host, Milkshake the cat, has passed away. He managed to make it until sort of just after the Eagles parade, and all his organs fell apart like the Blues Brothers car. Yeah, like the Blues.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it was really sudden. I was very sad. I mean, obviously, his we see his state funeral here. But I mean, he was a very good cat. Everyone, loved him. He loved everyone. I learned a whole bunch of stuff about him. I had no idea he was a foster reject for so long, because I guess people just didn't like his face.
I loved his little face.
Aww.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the one photo where he looks really mean, that's what mostly he looks like all the time. But yeah, he is unfortunately no longer with us.
Sorry for your loss, Roz.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
Likewise, condolences.
But his spirit lives on in the podcast, and he is beloved by thousands across the world.
And also eating Roz's shirts. And sometimes his beard.
Yeah, that's true. He did like to do that. He did like to do that too. You go right up to my dad, who is the only person in the family who doesn't like cats, and just sit on him. It's great.
Yeah, how's that feel, Dan?
Yeah, so this is an unfortunate thing which has happened, but that is what it is, I suppose.
In loving memory, we'll flash up some sad music, do it like an academy in memoriam.
In the arms of the angels, scratching at the wings, pulling feathers off, yowling and screeching.
That was haunting. I liked that.
Yeah. All right. That was the goddamn news. I apologize to our guests. You do know the podcast is usually pretty long, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's totally fine.
All right.
May need to make sure my disc has enough space, so we may need to stop at some point, but it shouldn't take long.
Okay. I mean,
Sorry in advance.
hopefully we'll only be here for another hour or so. I'm going to see how fast we can get through this. It's not too many slides on this one. Our next thing, we have to do announcements for the announcements. The Northeast Corridor. As we mentioned before, hopefully we don't get dinged by the visa stuff. We have all the paperwork and the money in, so that is proceeding. We have seats available still at the first New York show and at the Fillmore in Philly.
Everything else is sold out.
Everything else is sold out. So links to that will be in the description.
I'm going to be so fucking pissed if Marco fucking Rubio stops me from coming to these.
I'll piss in his mouth.
We're going to wind up in a Supreme Court amicus brief.
Yes. United States versus, well, there's your problem.
Exactly. Exactly.
My parents are retired lawyers. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Not that kind of law. Don't care. Let's go.
You're going to go and fight Justice Roberts.
My dad could win, dude. Old Man Anderson versus Justice Roberts. Old Man Anderson clears in a landslide.
All right. Those are the announcements. Let's finally get into the subject.
All right. We are an hour in. Let's do this.
Jesus
that's
Christ.
The fire hose right there.
It's been a lot of news.
All right. Some background here. Let's talk about the Republican Party and Reconstruction. Okay, so right now, it's the Republican Party that's the bad guys, and the Democratic Party that are also the bad guys, but a little bit better.
Like 0.5%, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. It used to be the Republicans were the good guys, and the Democrats were the bad guys.
Yeah, if you don't know that, there used to be a real gotcha for the dumbest Republican pundits a couple of years ago to be like, it's interesting because here I found this quote from this 19th century Democrat that's pro-slavery.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like how the Republicans flee the states. The same thing as pointing out the Yankees have 26 championships.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I mean, if you want to go back to Lincoln-style republicanism, that would be great. You want to go back to the Republican president corresponding with Marx, although today those would be some weird letters. But by all means, adopt radical.
Karl Marx, yeah. I yearn for your spirit. Signed, Donald J. Trump.
Yeah. All right, this great guy, he's got a rich friend. His name is Marx. His friend is Engels.
Immortal science, folks.
Engels, can you send me more money? Stop.
Okay, we did this thing. It was called the Civil War. It was over slavery, right? We won it. We had to rub it in the South's faces to maintain power. We did a thing called Reconstruction, right? This is supposed to be a pretty wide-ranging thing.
We bring the Jubilee, you dickheads.
You know, you've wrecked the South. Now you do military occupation. Theoretically, you do land redistribution. You disenfranchise the most powerful people.
Yeah, it's a good idea. It's like you sit in the occupied South with a military governor and you make sure they don't try any shit.
Yeah,
you don't
exactly.
take any guff from these swine.
And, you do really strict supervision of elections and so on and so forth. And, hey, you're the occupying military power who won. It better be your guy who wins the election. That's all I'm saying.
It's going to be like this again after Civil War II. And this time we're not going to fuck it up. It's as simple as that.
Oh, no, they're going to put fucking Hillary Clinton in this military government.
Oh.
She's electable if you vote for her at gunpoint.
Oh, yeah. You got to do the opposite of ending slavery, Hill Dog.
Yeah. So,
someone in the comments is going to get real mad at me for that joke, and I don't care.
A man shot Abraham Lincoln
Boo!
at a theater.
I'm booing John Wilkes Booth.
He shot Lincoln with the most hated gun in America.
Yes. And the next guy, Andrew Johnson, he walks back a lot of the stuff that was supposed to happen to finally strangle and put down the slave power, right? Nevertheless, there is still enough Reconstruction happening for there to be this sort of vibrant Southern Republican Party that was, this biracial coalition aligned against.
It's crazy how if you look at say, congressman from Tennessee, right? How it's like, oh, they had the first black one in 1870 and then again in 2020.
Exactly. Yeah. They're aligned against the planter elite, which still exists, unfortunately. There's still military occupation to prevent some fuckery. It works pretty good while it lasted. It was not as aggressive as it should have been. They should have, hanged Nathan Bedford Forrest, for example.
Yeah.
But,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The penalty for treason. The penalty for treason is death, no north, no south, the Union forever. And then also we hang Nathan Bedford Forrest. And Jeb Stuart, Jubal Early, and just all those motherfuckers.
Yeah.
They should have swung from ropes. I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we can say that. I mean, they're dead now.
I think we can. I think we can say,
yeah.
Listen, they should have executed every Confederate officer above the rank of captain.
Yeah,
and then if any of the others opened their mouths about anything, they should have executed them too.
Yeah, it probably would have been better off. We will talk about maybe the one exception later, but in aggregate though.
One good thing is Jeb Stuart died during the war, and I know this because when you drive around Virginia or wherever, you see Jeb Stuart death site or whatever, and then I looked it up.
Yes. Then it's I used to, when I was in high school, we'd row occasionally against Jeb Stuart High School.
I hope that place burns to the ground with everybody in it, man.
I think they renamed it.
Okay, maybe never mind.
But now they might rename it back because we're done with woke.
Oh man.
Like the military bases.
Yeah.
We live in the dumbest fucking timeline.
Part of why the South lost in Gettysburg is Jeb Stuart showed up late and Lee didn't know what the hell to do.
Literally, yeah. Jeb Stuart's conduct north of the Mason-Dixon is Jesus, wow.
Fashionably late.
Sorry, I've been trying to mute myself when I've been coughing.
Fine. Yeah, he shows up to was it him or Jubal Earl? Yeah, Stuart's ride in the Gettysburg campaign. I was thinking of Buell. Never mind, it's fine.
All these guys fucking sucked shit as generals, by the way. All of them jerk each other off after the end of the war about like not just the lost cause, but their own fucking generalship.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You know, you have people are still like, well, you need to go read Mosby's memoirs. You know, they're so good.
No, I don't.
And it's, I don't think so. So yeah, Reconstruction worked pretty good while it lasted. Sometimes Southern Democrats still won elections in the South. Unfortunately, they also had urban Northern counterparts who helped them out in Congress, right? Which leads to sort of a steady gain in power for Southern Democrats over a long period of time. So, you know, let's jump forward to a few presidents too. The corrupt bargain and Rutherford Hayes.
And not even the first corrupt bargain.
Nah,
the election of
that's one of
1824.
several,
Yeah, Andrew Jackson and John Quincy Adams.
So in 1876, it was widely expected that Ulysses S. Grant would run for a third term.
America's most powerful never nude.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about Grant is his election slogan was "Vote as you shot."
Hell yeah.
Which, like, what are you supposed to do with that, right? Like,
yeah. So Grant actually, you know, he declined to run again. This leads to sort of a power vacuum within the party. There's two factions in the Republicans. You have the radicals and you have the moderates, right?
Ooh, I think I know who my favorites are.
Yeah. The radicals wanted Reconstruction to continue and, in fact, to be more thorough, to right the historical wrongs, so on and so forth. I mean, there was a range of political beliefs within there. Some of them were like straight up socialists. Some of them are like more like, okay, I'm a business guy, but I fucking hate the South, right? And then you have moderates who were cowards.
Hey, you know those.
Important to note that the whole unity and brotherhood, draw a line under it thing is like at this point hooey, right? It's like a line being pushed by the people who are like, just let us go back to rigging the elections the way we want.
Exactly.
Please.
I'm really upset seeing black people at the polls.
Oh,
I'm very upset.
Yeah, 1880. Susan Collins is very concerned.
Yeah. Yeah. So at this point, Grant would have been like the preferred candidate of the radicals, but the whole party probably would have coalesced around him. So at the convention, since he declined to run, Ohio Governor Rutherford Hayes was elected as a candidate, right? He was a moderate, but he did explicitly support suffrage for black men so long as he didn't have to do anything to make it happen.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. So the election came down to Hayes and New York Governor and Democrat Samuel J. Tilden, right? And Hayes pulled off something that has since been a tradition in the GOP, right? He lost the popular vote, but won the Electoral College.
They love fucking doing it, man.
Yeah.
And I wonder if because it's always been a Republican. Like, what if it was the more conservative candidate who lost the popular vote, or the more liberal one who lost the popular vote for what won the election? I wonder if that would be what it takes to actually switch it. That's what I've been rooting for in every election that I've been alive, like for Mitt Romney to win the popular vote but lose the Electoral College. But it like never happens.
It never seems to happen that way.
It's like the only way we're going to get rid of it.
The Republicans seem to be better at electioneering.
Yeah.
We needed John Kerry to win Ohio, and then it could have happened.
Mm-hmm.
But in this election, there's a number of disputed ballots, 20 total in Florida, Louisiana, Electoral College ballots, I mean, in Florida, Louisiana, Oregon, and South Carolina. These would throw the election to Tilden, if even one of them came up Democratic. And the Congress is in disarray. They try all kinds of chicanery to throw the election one way or another. And the inauguration deadline starts, rapidly approaching with no winner declared, right? So the real power in the United States steps in to mediate. It's down here. Thomas Scott of the Pennsylvania Railroad.
The real president, the fourth and most important branch of government.
The Pennsylvania Railroad, yeah.
Yes.
At this point, I believe the railroad had a larger budget than the United States government.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there is, and some historians dispute that this happened, but supposedly there was a secret meeting at James Wormley's Hotel, which was the first black-owned upscale hotel in the United States. It's up here. It was in Washington, D.C. I believe there's the First Union Trust building is here now. I don't remember the street address. A deal was brokered with Southern Democrats and moderate Republicans and dozens of business leaders in the North and South. So you're going to, number one, you're going to end Reconstruction and withdraw all Union troops from the South. Number two, you're going to appoint at least one Southern Democrat to Hayes' cabinet. Number three, the government's going to approve the extension and subsequent land grants for Tom Scott's Texas and Pacific Railroad as far as San Diego. Number four, you're going to pass legislation to aid industrialization in the South. Number five, the South gets to be racist again.
So much for woke business, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So now, most of this happened, but the construction of the T&P Pacific Extension did not. They did not really work on industrialization either. But on March the 2nd, Southern Democrats relented, and Rutherford Hayes was declared the winner and was inaugurated only 3 days later. They really ran out the clock on this.
It's a beautiful piece of liberal decision sort of bargaining, right? It's like you get everything you want in exchange. My dumbest and least backboned guy gets to be president.
Exactly.
I was thinking about, so around this time, all of these Civil War generals, they all have beards, and photography is still a fairly new innovation. So they aren't getting photographed that often. They're not in that not that many eyeballs on these different pictures of these guys. You could easily just swap them out for each other. And
this is the president. This is the president.
That Futurama bit. It's my competitor Jack Johnson and me, John Jackson. Right? Yeah. No. They don't let their identical appearances fool you.
There's a number of these guys that look very, very similar.
Roz kind of looks like Rutherford B. Hayes, but more handsome.
Well, my beard's not that long at the moment.
No, but I like you with a long beard. I think you're very handsome.
That was the Democrats' mistake. They keep running guys without beards.
They got run me. I'll be 35 in a couple years. Let's go, baby. Liam for president. How bad could it be? 2032, baby.
Hold on. The next Democrat.
The really grim part is if they shoot Trump with the cancer gun, J.D. Vance is going to be the first bearded president. Don't say those words to me in that order. Since Rutherford B. Hayes.
It's Benjamin Harrison.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think
same guy.
Grover Cleveland is one of the first presidents without a beard, at least in a long time at this point.
So the Tash.
Yeah. So anyway, Hayes is inaugurated. He winds down Reconstruction, but pretty slowly. He does slow walk it a bit. But that does kill, support for Republicans in the South. The South becomes, the solid South. It's all Southern Democrats, right? And it explodes the radical factions of the Republicans because they were a lot less relevant. The project had been canceled. The South was rising again, right? This is his political legacy is mostly ending Reconstruction and then, some boring stuff like opposing bimetallism, meritocratic civil service reform. He ran a dry White House. He was the first.
That was worth it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Dickhead.
He was the first president to visit California. And of course, he crushed the railroad strike of 1877 with federal troops. He did not run for a second term. So
again, worth trading it all for?
Yeah, exactly.
For this pillar of strength, this tower that was the guy who opposed bimetallism.
Yeah, that was no civil service reform. Come on, that's oh god.
The elites loved
Do
the
nothing
bimetal.
civil service jobs. Gave us the novel Moby Dick. Okay.
Yeah.
The elites loved the gold standard. Even J.P. Morgan's going to bail America out under Cleveland to keep the gold standard. Because, yeah, it just worked really well for them, kept their debts as valuable as they were.
Yeah, it's ugh. You know, there were no men for this moment, I think is a big issue. So let's talk about this Garfield fellow.
See, this would have been a good bit to just throw in Garfield the cat, like superimposed on Garfield's face.
So he was born November 19th, 1831 in Moreland Hills, Ohio. He was educated at Hiram College, which was then called the Western Reserve Eclectic Institute.
What a name.
Same place that educated Wes Anderson.
Then later he went to Williams College, which is where he learned about abolitionism and began considering a career in politics.
Now, they don't teach you that good things can be good at the fucking Eclectic Institute, do they?
No, they just teach you a lot of random crap.
Yeah. You're going to learn juggling
Like this
and
podcast.
multivariate calculus, dickhead.
I just learned today, Garfield's father was an amateur wrestler at the time, which seems very eclectic in a sense for the 19th century. But he
I'm back from eclectic school. I've just seen my dad suplex my neighbor.
Lincoln did that too, so he's truly a Lincoln Republican.
yeah.
Garfield was very highly educated. He actually he devised an original proof for the Pythagorean theorem.
Wow.
Wow,
Yeah.
I've never heard it pronounced that way. That's I like it. But yeah, big math brain.
Yeah, he has a big brain in general.
Can I give a little anecdote from his college? So he was poor. He had to be janitor at first. And then he works his way all the way up where he's president of an even better college. So he started as janitor. He did a math proof. He really is good with hunting as far as presidents go.
Oh yeah, he is salt of the earth. You know, he is came from literally nothing, dirt farmers. You know, he's he's the American dream right here.
Goodwill Hunting, except Goodwill Hunting's dad is busy like arm barring people.
Yeah, so he went back to Ohio and yeah, he did the whole janitor thing. He eventually became, president of Western Reserve Eclectic Institute, which I think at some point became Hiram University. I don't know exactly when. He was admitted to the bar. He did not practice as a lawyer for very long because he was elected to the state senate in 1861.
So definitely one of these like a young Turk. Like people are looking at this guy like this is going to be the guy. He's like on the way up.
We elected our town's best professor to the state senate.
And
He's the smartest guy. Why would we want anyone else?
Exactly.
He knows how many sides a triangle has.
I can prove it originally.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't actually develop that proof until he was in Congress, I think.
We're going to send him to Congress to figure out how many sides a triangle has.
Yeah.
So the thing is, the war intervened, right? By August of 1861, after rapidly consuming all the knowledge he could about war, he was commissioned as a colonel in the 42nd Ohio Infantry.
In fairness, you could consume all the knowledge there was about war in about an afternoon.
Yeah.
Just kind of like read a couple of pretty thick books.
It took you longer to find the books.
You just say Napoleon a lot. If you talked about Napoleon and concentrating your forces, people thought you knew what you were doing.
Yeah, exactly. So the problem with the 42nd Ohio Infantry is that it didn't exist, right? He had to create it from scratch, right? And he did so by recruiting essentially all of Hiram College in the surrounding town of Hiram. The 42nd was tasked by Brigadier General Don Carlos Buell.
Oh, yeah.
What a name.
Yeah, to go kick the Confederates out of eastern Kentucky, right? He did so very effectively, winning the Battle of Middle Creek by deceiving the Confederates into thinking the Union outnumbered them and forcing a retreat, and was subsequently promoted to Brigadier General.
Damn.
Okay.
It must have
Now-
been good to be a bachelor in Hiram, Ohio, I imagine.
Ooh, yeah.
This guy invented like thinking as far as all these guys are concerned. So like it's like Ohioan Socrates.
Yeah, he is the most educated man,
Yeah.
like outside of, I don't know, Cincinnati or Columbus or Cleveland.
It's invented several soda syrups.
Yeah. So, in the Union Army, there's two predominant philosophies about what the war was about. Was this a struggle to hold the country together in which there would be compromises made, to keep everyone working together? Or is this a holy war to end slavery?
Holy war, baby.
Yes.
Yeah, Garfield believed the latter.
Yeah.
He was,
So after...
yeah, young Garfield was quite based. He thought Lincoln was too weak. He not
Yes.
ballsy enough on abolishing slavery.
Yeah, it was definitely like that. This guy is pretty radical in his youth, right?
Yeah.
One of the things he did is after he drove most of the Confederate forces out of eastern Kentucky, he came to this realization, we forced out most of the people. Some people are still holding out. None of the people here own slaves. It's eastern Kentucky. There's no big cotton plantation possible in like Whitesburg, right? Which is roughly where this campaign is happening. So he issues this sort of general amnesty to any Confederate soldier who just went the fuck home, which actually worked really good.
Yeah. Go home and don't take arms up against the Union and don't
The
kill your black
smartest
neighbors.
guy in Ohio is here to ask you, what are you doing here?
Why are
man?
you here? Just go home.
Go home, dickhead.
It
And
would
all
be
these
like
guys like, holy shit, I hate this.
Yeah.
it was
And-
like Carl Winslow would yell, "Go home, go home, go home" at Urkel. It was kind of that kind of defense.
Yeah. The few people who did not heed this warning were dealt with at a brief skirmish at Pound Gap, which is adjacent to the town of Pound.
I've heard of Mind the Gap.
No,
No,
this
this
is
is Pound
Gap.
the Gap.
Pound Gap, yeah.
There's a real pincer movement between go home and if you don't, we'll kill
We'll
you.
kill you. Which is,
You'll
yeah.
go to Pound Town.
Pound Town at the end of a musket is not a place you want to be.
Hey,
Federal pound me in the Gap battle.
hey, I've been to Pound Gap. So has Liam.
Yeah, buddy, we have.
That's when we went to go visit the Trillbillies.
Nice.
So, having liberated eastern Kentucky, the 42nd joined up with the 20th Brigade of the Army of the Ohio, which wound up stuck at Battle of Shiloh, where the Confederates shot at Garfield all day and missed every time.
Eat shit,
Damn.
nerds.
Yeah.
And those bullets.
I guess
were-
he's hard to hit. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe some got stuck in his beard, but the wind.
Yeah.
The
Been there,
wind in those
been there, been
days.
there.
I would think those ball bearings were flying all over the place.
No, not so easy when you don't have like an industrial capacity, is it,
Yeah.
fellas?
So, after the battle, James Garfield got sick with jaundice, right?
Oh, I thought you-
Get shot at and missed 20 times and then hit with jaundice
Yeah.
instead.
And he winds up bedridden, and then after that, he works a lot of desk jobs, and plans his return to politics. He won a seat in Congress from Ohio in 1862 while he was still serving in the Army. And as a radical Republican, he was unsure of whether to continue to serve in the Army or take his seat until President Lincoln told him, look, we got too many generals and not enough congressmen.
Does he still think Lincoln's a pussy at this point? Because that's really funny if he does.
He actually does continue to criticize Lincoln in Congress.
Just, I will let you change the course of my life, bitch.
In Congress, during the war, he supported confiscation of Confederate lands, stripping Confederates of rights, abolition, Reconstruction, and, most controversially, abolishing the system of commutation, where draftees could pay to get out of service. Right?
No, you're all going to Pound Gap with me.
Yeah, we're all going to Pound Town. So, this is during the war. And one of the reasons why the anti-commutation bill never gets passed is that, Lincoln just figures out how to end the war. So
Sherman figures out how to end the war.
Sherman, that's true. That's true. Yeah. And then after the war ends, he begins this unfortunate, long, slow decline into moderation.
Yeah, many such cases. Never meet your heroes.
Exactly. Eventually, he falls so low as to oppose the Enforcement Act of 1871, which was intended to curb the power of the Ku Klux Klan, right?
What, dickhead?
Yeah, exactly. He supported Hayes in 1876.
Pointy hoods. He's just a very pro-triangle man.
Well, he was concerned about executive overreach.
No, he wasn't. Shut the fuck up.
He supported Rutherford Hayes in 1876. He wanted to retire from politics and practice law, but he stayed on for another term because he was popular in his seat. He thought he could galvanize the presidential vote in Ohio. He was elected to the Senate in 1880 and had yet to take office when, there was a presidential election happening at the same time, right?
They really did like putting a bunch of flags on stuff, didn't they?
Yeah. They had I mean, you think they're doing flag code violations now. I think half of these things don't even have the right number of stars.
I'm enjoying the ones kind of like wrapped around the bust of in like Washington or some shit like that. It's hadn't lost the novelty yet at the time, I guess.
It was harder back then because they would change the number of states so often.
Real quick, is it okay if we take like a 5-minute break? I just have to, my space is running out of my disc.
Yeah.
20 minutes later.
Folks, we are back from a brief break. We may have lost Anders. We may not have.
We don't know. No, but you're here.
I am here.
Okay, I just hadn't heard you in a while. I wasn't trying to be rude.
Anyway, we left on a cliffhanger. We got to talk about the election of 1880. So the Republican Party was divided on Hayes' performance, but had devolved into two much more boring factions. Right? They weren't the radicals and the moderates. They were now the stalwarts and the half-breeds.
Fucking shadow of Mordor ass.
Yeah. The stalwarts largely derived from the ranks of the former radicals, while the half-breeds consisted mainly of former moderates. There was still some crossover. Ostensibly, the question of civil rights for African Americans in the South was still on the table, but the real split here was the question of civil service reform.
Oh, yes. Fuck me up.
Right.
Never reform the civil service. Patronage jobs only forever. Please.
Yeah.
This isn't the kind of thing you'd kill anybody over, though.
I'm glad you asked,
feeling like I could be ambassador to France if I sit in this waiting room long enough.
Thank you, Freddie. Foreshadowing. Oh yes, I finally got to use the joke.
So, cronies and henchmen are important in a political system that capital G gets things done, right?
Sure.
Which is why the stalwarts wanted to return to the spoils system. The half-breeds wanted a government that couldn't do anything and thus supported expanding civil service reform.
Yeah, they wanted meritocracy apart from in the, racism department.
Exactly, yeah. In the 1880 convention, The stalwart supported nominating former President Ulysses S. Grant for what would be his third term.
Isn't Grant like 900 years old at this point and dying of like throat cancer?
He was also on a European tour, but he did cut it short to come back and campaign.
Oh my God.
The half-breeds were divided between John Sherman, who was a senator from Ohio, and James G. Blaine, who will be a recurring character. He was a senator from Maine.
Blaine, James G. Blaine, the Continental Liar from the state of Maine.
Yes. He was involved in, Teapot? No, Credit Mobilier. Yeah. If anyone remembers that from your history class, because I don't remember.
Garfield was involved in that a little bit too. Yeah,
Yes.
It is a big problem. If you're going to be from Maine, not a very good state to win from in the corner of the country, you don't want to also have your name rhyme with Maine. That's a real bad sign.
No, that's going to be an issue later on. So this convention is a fucking mess, right? No one candidate had anything close to the amount of votes required to secure the nomination. Grant came the closest at 304 out of 379. Blaine trailed pretty closely. There was one ballot. There was a second ballot. There was a third ballot. After day one, they had done 18 votes and made no progress, right? Day two went similarly until, seemingly out of nowhere, votes began to shift to this new guy named James Garfield.
Same thing that happens with like papal conclaves where everybody just wants to go home and is bored, so they just kind of pick somebody.
Yeah, it's like, let's give this guy a shot.
As of recording, as of this moment, Pope Francis is still alive, but I do hope that if he shuffles from this mortal coil, they pick the cool Filipino guy.
Oh yeah,
Tagline,
they keep trying to whatchamacallit, say Pope Francis is going to die imminently, and it's like, he's got kidney failure. Well, it's easy to replace those. And he's the Holy Father, so
he's old. There's a ton of stuff that that sounds alarming, but is just like normal old guy in hospital stuff.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. He's gonna live another like 15 years.
From your lips to God's ears.
Yeah, I listen. I made my deal with God so the Eagles would win the Super Bowl. I'm now making my second deal with God so that we get Fran a long time.
Yeah. So there were some backroom deals on vote 36. The representative from Ohio and senator-elect from Ohio, James Garfield,
J.D. Vance,
was nominated as the candidate with 399 votes.
The human equivalent of throwing the Xbox controller.
Yeah.
I really like that one.
Fuck.
Fuck.
All right, well, I like this guy.
All right, your mom's a whore. All right, let's do this.
It's a load of slurs coming over Xbox Live,
Garfield didn't even want to do it either. Like at first they try to like nominate him and he's like, well, can you nominate me without my consent? And they're like, you're out of order. We're doing what we want.
We do what we want. Yeah. He didn't have a speech planned. He didn't have anything. Just like, give it to this guy. He seems pretty good. Apparently he just went back to his hotel room and cried.
Relatable. That's relatable.
That is, yeah.
Chester A. Arthur, who was a firm stalwart, was nominated to the vice presidency. This winds up being, a balanced ticket. Everyone's happy, or at least no one's especially mad at it, right? In the general election, it is pretty obvious that Hayes's policies have completely thrown the South to the Democrats. He's thoroughly abandoned black voters, and it goes, the South goes solid Democrat, but the North is solid Republican. And in the popular vote, it's about 50.01% to 49.99% for the Republicans. I think the difference is 2,000 votes out of 9 million. So in a landslide, Garfield wins the Electoral College with 214 to Winfield Scott Hancock's 155 votes.
Let's fucking go.
I love democracy.
One thing is that it was a little bit closer, just that New York State is the swing state, and it's only 21,000 votes there. And it is helpful that Garfield is working with the New York Machine, who's on board with him and willing to do little shenanigans.
When you say New York Machine, I assume you're talking about Tammany Hall, right?
Oh, yeah,
Imagine
absolutely.
New York
Tammany
State
Hall.
being a swing state.
Yeah.
In the
You may not
1800s.
have to imagine for too much longer.
Well, yes, exactly. Yeah.
This is a good one.
It's time to look at a photograph of a normal man together.
The world's most normal man.
Oh my god!
Oh no! Awarded most normal-looking boy 4 years in like sequence.
He was in like a free love sex commune, and no one would have sex with him.
Is that
They used to
real?
call him
Yes.
Charles J. Get Out.
Yeah.
Man who literally could not get laid in a cult. It's Charles J. Giteau, and I'm doing the like hand flourish.
Charles Julius Guiteau was born September 8th, 1941
The
in
delirium has
Freeport,
set in.
Illinois.
Highly recommend two sources about Charles J. Giteau: Sarah Vowell's book Assassination, Vacation, and the Sondheim musical Assassins, in which he has one of my favorite songs.
So, our boy, Charles Guiteau, inherited a sum of money from, I believe, his uncle, and he wanted to use it to attend the University of Michigan to become a lawyer. And he failed the entrance exam.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
nah,
who amongst us, you know?
that's gone poorly. So he moved to Oneida, New York, to join the weird utopian sex cult
Oh,
there.
those guys are freaks. Yeah.
The Oneida community rejected him, calling him Charles Get Out. Right.
Yeah, a bunch of the women thought that he had really creepy vibes. For some reason, not entirely clear looking
Yeah,
at
he
him.
wants-
world's most normal boy.
This
moved-
guy appears in your room and is just like creepily breathing at you.
I'm a part of a sex cult, but I have standards. He moved to Hoboken, New Jersey, to start a newspaper based on the Oneida community's principles, right? Which failed instantly, right?
Takes some doing to have a newspaper fail instantly
Yeah.
as well.
He moved back to Oneida. He was rejected again by everyone in the community. And he sued their leader, John Humphrey Noyes, for unpaid work he did while as a member of the cult.
It's a
Sure.
cult, of course you're gonna. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
That lawsuit was unsuccessful, and I believe his dad wrote a personal letter to John Humphrey Noyes saying, "Sorry, my son's an idiot. I apologize."
Jesus,
Oh,
you
that's
never
bad.
want
Yeah.
Dad, you're
don't-
embarrassing me
you
in
never
front
want-
of the cult.
You don't want that note.
This
They
is
do-
a man.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
They do say like the dad's like, oh yeah, I would institutionalize him, but I can't afford to. So some universal health care. Yeah. If they had universal health care, this whole thing might have been prevented.
Yeah, exactly. This is a man with a reverse Midas touch, right? Everything he touched turned to shit. He moved to Chicago. He got a clerkship, right? He was admitted to the bar. He argued
Holy
one
shit.
case. His client
This
was
is your big break,
Yeah.
Giteau. This is it. This is you just got to lock in. You just
Yeah,
got to
it's sort
lock
of
in.
a cousin Vinny type situation, except he argued one case. His client was convicted. He failed. So he started doing bill collecting, but while he was collecting the bills for his clients, he forgot to pay the clients afterwards the money that he had collected. So he fled his creditors and debt collectors for New York City, because that you could just do that back then, right? And he decided to get into politics as a Democrat.
This
That-
repulsively unlovable, deeply weird specimen decided to like escape from his army of creditors through the Democratic Party. I mean,
Wow.
I'm sure that's never going to be replicated.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Now, nevertheless, owing to the political climate, he wound up supporting Republicans. all the Republicans he supported were losers, like Horace Greeley,
The
right?
newspaper guy?
I think so.
He then loses to Grant in Grant's second run, and he dies before the Electoral College. So they don't really know what to do with his electors.
Shoot him.
He also begins to become delusional, right? After delivering one speech.
Of course he does. He's a Democrat.
Yeah. He became
He's
convinced.
electable if you can vote if you will vote for him.
He became convinced.
He started like uttering strange visions of madness, like Hillary whips and Nene. She's a hashtag girl gone wild, and everyone looking at her is like, what
We
the
have
fuck
to
is this guy
vote
doing?
for the dread abuela. Photoshopping her face
Just rocking
onto.
back and forth, just like gotta have high hopes for a living.
Yeah. Has a bunch of posters with the candidate's face photoshopped onto Game of Thrones lady.
What did you call it? The Dragon Sex Show?
Yeah, that's yeah, I think it was something like that. I forgot what I just called it the Dragon Show.
You're amazing, man.
Yeah.
Like the Gorilla Channel.
Yeah, exactly. Which is real, by the way. So anyway, Gitcho, he after delivering one speech, he became convinced that he would be appointed ambassador to Chile.
I mean,
Sure.
you kind of could be, in the sense that like these were all patronage jobs, and
Right.
ambassador wasn't nearly as important as it used to be, particularly
Yes.
to like a small country. It was kind of just like
Here
honorary
you go, fuck off,
consulships.
right.
You can kind of like it's like the guy who's in like most like sensical American who lives in Chile. That's the ambassador now, I guess.
Yeah, he's the one man.
Yeah.
He wrote and published a religious book called The Truth, which was largely plagiarized from John Humphrey Noyes. And he started
Put me in a cult,
wandering.
I'll plagiarize your cult idea.
He started wandering from town to town preaching. By
Right.
1880, he was in Boston, where he
Oh,
was
no.
involved in the collision of the SS Stonington and the SS Narragansett.
What do you mean he was involved? Are you going to elaborate on that?
He was on the Stonington.
Oh, all right. I thought he just piloted it directly, like 9/11, but with boats.
No, he doesn't have enough skill to pilot a boat, let alone into a moving target.
I think you're just dunking on this dead guy.
The Narragansett caught fire and sank with a large loss of life. Guiteau was on the Stonington and believed his life was spared for some higher divine purpose.
Become ambassador to Chile.
Yeah. So he returned to politics. He wrote a speech supporting Grant for the 1880 convention, which he delivered twice, apparently very badly. And it was then printed and circulated among the delegates. But by the time it was printed and circulated, Garfield had secured the nomination. So the printed copies had Grant scratched out and Garfield inserted instead.
Oh, that's tough, man.
Now, he was a delusional crank, obviously, but he also identified as a stalwart, right?
No, he was on the side of the angels. He was our delusional crank.
Yeah,
This is the
exactly,
weirdest guy in your DSA chapter.
Yeah. He believed he had secured Garfield's win in the 1880 general election and thus lined up for his well-deserved patronage job. To his horror, civil service reform had occurred. He was clearly unqualified for the position he knew in his heart was his to have, the consulship to Vienna. Or maybe Paris.
Sure.
So he traveled to Washington, D.C.
Oh boy.
to plead his case and just starts tailing the president and also Secretary of State James G. Blaine.
Don't.
Well, of course I can just go to his house because everyone knows where it is.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like the White House.
Well, the location and daily agenda of the president were printed in several local newspapers.
Oh,
so
my
you
God.
could just...
The Assassination Daily.
Yeah. So he starts to begin showing up unannounced at official events. He started sending the president and the Secretary of State letters on hotel stationery, because by this time he can't afford anything. He's penniless. He's in boarding houses, running between boarding houses because he can't pay for boarding. He would try and just happen to run into them on the street and ask, "Hey, can I get that console ship yet?"
Trying to do a meet cute with James G. Blaine.
How's this going for you?
Till eventually Blaine finally snapped at him, "Never talk about the console ship to me again. Fuck you." He didn't say fuck you. They didn't swear back then.
No, they just a lot of slurs. Like
Yeah, exactly.
Lot of slurs we can't even dream up. We've lost the technology.
It's true. It's true because we swear so much more now. Lost the impact, you know.
Yeah, everyone's on boats more, so they start swearing more.
If you commit to never swearing in your life, then it's gonna hit so much harder when you just like haul off and call a guy an Irishman.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. So now he's mad.
And he has a gun.
You have angered the normalist boy.
Yeah.
Normalist boy status angered.
Right. So James Garfield, he's kind of a compromise candidate. As
Jesus
such,
Christ, stop putting flags on things, you maniacs.
no, I want to see. I want to see like booths
More.
like this come back
More
for inaugurations. Let me get the big shield. Let me get whatever the hell this is. Big eagle.
The like flower antennas.
Oh, it looks
Yeah.
like Bioshock Infinite, this bitch, yeah.
Someone spent, 400 hours carving this. They're going to use it for 20 minutes.
Bioshock Infinite was such a fucking missed opportunity.
I know,
Sorry,
I
go
know.
ahead.
Garfield's a compromise candidate. As such, the administration got off to kind of a rocky start, right? The leader of the stalwarts was Roscoe Conkling, right?
not-
Don't
real
make a
name.
name like that anymore.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And he feuded with Garfield over cabinet appointments, specifically the half-breed James Blaine as Secretary of State.
Oh, good.
It's like the name of his like political faction, but that's so insulting.
Appointments below the cabinet were a mix of the sort of meritocratic civil service type guys and straight up old-fashioned patronage, right? And so Garfield doesn't accomplish very much in his first 4 months, right? He does some more civil service reform, but it's kind of minor. He nominates Stanley Matthews to the Supreme Court. He made some moves to break the Solid South by trying to entangle the Republican Party's patronage network with the new Readjuster Party in Virginia that was run by Confederate General turned Rainbow Coalition leader Billy Mahone, who we've
What?
talked about previously on this podcast. The only Confederate general who kind of made amends afterwards.
All right, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Take it we can get here, folks.
Yeah, and then, well, the Readjuster Party did a lot more than pretty much any faction of the Republicans at this point in time. And he did some boring stuff with the Navy and preparing to build the Panama Canal and stuff like that. I think, if you're trying to make inroads with the Readjuster Party, maybe something really great could have happened with a few more years, but circumstances intervened here.
In the form of the normalist boy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, here we go. Washington, D.C. is disgusting in the summer.
It's
Great place to do a live show in May.
Yeah. It'll be fine in May. Early May, you'll be good.
Yeah, otherwise you're sweating through everything. No.
Oh, yeah. If we were doing it in the summer, I would say you got to get some kind of portable air conditioner.
Yeah.
For the... Well, the venue is pretty far from the metro. Oh, God.
I
So...
didn't book it. Actually, I did literally book it. I guess.
Maybe little Marco Rubio is saving my life here.
Before air conditioning, everyone who could leave in the summer left.
Yeah, it used to be still is in Paris actually. Just like summer, everybody leaves the capital because it's gross.
Yes. James Garfield, the President of the United States, was no exception.
Please tell me the U.S. has a summer capital.
Yeah, it's called Mar-a-Lago.
Boo, tomato.
So he planned to travel north to Williams College in Massachusetts, right, to deliver a speech and then take a well-deserved summer vacation. Now, in Washington, D.C. at the time, there were 2 train stations. If you're going north or going south, you went to the Baltimore and Potomac station at 6th Street. And if you were going west, you went to the Baltimore and Ohio station at New Jersey Avenue. President's going north, so he heads for the Baltimore and Potomac station to catch whatever the Baltimore and Potomac's equivalent of the Acela was.
You sell it.
Well, yeah, no, it's the same tracks. The tunnel through Baltimore is the same tunnel. So, yeah, I guess so.
The proto-Acela.
The proto-Acela, yeah. Well, I think he's going to New Jersey to change trains, and he's going to get a ferry across New York Harbor, and he's going to get on to New York, New Haven, and Hartford, and he's going to have to take that up to Boston.
Such a pain in the ass. You're thinking about that journey, and you're like, Jesus Christ, someone shoot me in the back, please.
This is way... Well, the B&P tunnel had just opened, and they had just finished the bridge over the Susquehanna. So they had actually just recently shaved 2 days off this journey. So,
Oh my God.
Much like the train that never ends, it's the podcast that never ends.
Yes.
How you doing there, Nova?
I'm surviving. I'm good. I'm going to have to write the next No Gods, No Mayors in about 10 hours. But
God.
Other than that, it's all good.
Now, Guiteau has seen the schedule in the newspaper. Of course, he's been plotting, right? He's been selected
called by God.
Selected by Providence, divinely inspired to shoot the president and raise stalwart Chester A. Arthur to the presidency.
You know, who could blame him? I get it.
And bring back the adored spoils system.
Yeah, and then once they let me out of jail for this whole shooting the president misunderstanding, they're going to make me ambassador to France.
Yes. He borrowed money from a relative. He bought a fancy revolver. It's like a British bulldog.
He specifically looked for a revolver with nicer grips because he thought it would look nicer at a museum.
Oh, yes.
And it's not on public display, so another L for Charles Guiteau.
Brutal.
He wrote cryptic letters to Garfield, warning him
letters.
to, change his policies, and Garfield ignored them. He wrote to William Tecumseh Sherman, begging for protection from the angry mob that would surely arrive after he shot the president, which was also ignored.
Yeah.
He went to the Washington, D.C. jail to ask for a tour of the facility so he could get to know it before he was imprisoned. They told him to come back later, which he did. He spent a full month tailing the president everywhere he went, almost worked up the gall to shoot him once.
Just kill this guy, dude.
Well, Garfield's wife, Lucretia, was there, and he didn't want to upset her.
No, just
Wait,
what kind of political violence is
Two
this?
things. Thing one, how do you think she's gonna feel if you shoot him when she's not there? Probably fucking great. Thing two, Lucretia, insane name on
It's
like
just
an Anglo woman.
Incredible name, yeah.
We had
Nobody cisgender is moving like this.
I've never met a Lucretia before.
Lucretia
And then he'd
Mott.
call her like Crete as a nickname, and that's not that sweet of a nickname.
like the island.
I did think of that, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
It's almost like you're calling her Creep, though.
Yeah, if you've never met a woman named Lucretia before, there will be a she/they at one of the live shows. I promise you.
Yeah, we had a cat named Lucretia Borgia. Yes, named after the Duchess.
Oh yeah.
And she hid under the bed, except when it was time to eat, and then she would stick a paw out and sort of bat the food towards her. She was amazing. I miss that cat.
What should I name my 19th century daughter? How about after this famous poisoner?
Yeah. It goes. They don't name like they used to. Lucretia Mott portrait on Wikipedia is not flattering.
Lucretia Garfield?
Lucretia Mott, my fault.
Okay.
Look at this haunted visage. God damn.
On July 2nd, in the morning, Garfield and Secretary of State Blaine arrived at the Baltimore and Potomac station. Guiteau arrived too, and he told his cab driver, "I don't need a ride back because I'm going to be arrested and going to jail instead."
Cab driver visibly not giving a shit, just like, okay, man, whatever.
Man. Pulling out a bottle of like what I can only describe as corn liquor.
Yeah. You know the president's in there, right? Oh, guess what I'm going to do? Garfield and Blaine entered the station through the ladies' waiting room, which I was very confused about. But apparently the B Street entrance, which is the main entrance to the station, just goes through the ladies' waiting room.
As you do.
B Street would be Constitution Avenue now. This station was where the National Gallery of Art is now. So they're walking towards the main waiting room.
No security or nothing.
No,
just
absolutely
like
none.
these two guys.
There's just some attendants in the ladies' waiting room. I think Guiteau was like concealed behind a curtain or something. He came out behind the curtain. He walked towards the president and shot him and missed.
You fucking
Great.
idiot.
The president.
This guy is. How do you like? Come on, man. I get it's like 1880 and like the pistols aren't that good, but like, come on, dude. You've had just run up and stab him in the back. Just run up and just. I know it looks like I'm jerking off, but I'm not. I'm trying to stab the president.
He had considered stabbing the president.
What? Yeah.
But
yeah, you stabbed the president.
Very
Luigi
Julius Caesar
Mangione was able to pull off this assassination with a box of scraps, allegedly.
He admired the president enough that he thought, given the president's stature, if he stabbed the president would immediately whip around and punch him in the face so hard he would die instantly.
Okay, my God.
He's a pretty, like, normal style old man.
Yeah.
He's not, like, doing Krav Maga. Like, what are you... It's like, no. If I stab him, I'm not... He's specialized in, like, melee fighting. He's gonna, like, whip around. He's gonna do penchak salat combos on all my fucking load-bearing joints.
He's gonna do a Mortal Kombat fatality on me.
Mortal Kombat!
Yeah.
What do you think? I'm stupid? Of course I know that a president can't be killed with like a mortal blade. It's why it's never happened still. You gotta shoot them. They're not like... They've got a damage resistance.
The president was startled and turned slightly, and Guiteau shot him again. This time, he hit the president square in the back. The president fell down and exclaimed, "My God, what is this?"
Not a great line, all things considered. Should have done the penchak salat thing. You know, but what can you do?
Blaine was in shock. There in the same room was Secretary of War Robert Todd Lincoln, who was completely flabbergasted. My God, it's happened again.
Oh, come on, man.
He would also go on to be present at the McKinley assassination.
Just real bad luck all around, Robert Todd Lincoln.
He started refusing invitations to presidential events.
I guess if he accepts it, it means he doesn't like you, you know?
So after all the assassinations, he retires and he becomes a railroad CEO. He takes over the Pullman Company.
Hi, it's Justin. So this is a commercial for the podcast that you're already listening to. People are annoyed by these, so let me get to the point. We have this thing called Patreon, right? The deal is you give us $2 a month, and we give you an extra episode once a month. Sometimes it's a little inconsistent, but, you know, it's $2. You get what you pay for. It also gets you our full back catalog of bonus episodes, so you can learn about exciting topics like guns, pickup trucks, or pickup trucks with guns on them. The money we raise through Patreon goes to making sure that the only ad you hear on this podcast is this one. Anyway, that's something to consider if you have $2 to spare each month. Join at patreon.com/WTYP pod. Do it if you want. Or don't. It's your decision, and we respect that. Back to the show.
Somehow
Anders Lee
returned.
3, 2, 1, mark. All
Good
right.
enough.
All right, let me bring you up to speed. We've just assassinated the president.
The president has just been shot. Yeah.
The president's been shot, Anders.
No. I don't like that. Not this
Turn on
one.
the ticker tape, any channel.
This is he is, I think, my favorite president. I will say Garfield. For a while it was Roosevelt, like a lot of people, and then I switched to Harrison, William Henry Harrison, not because I like him, but because I thought he maybe did the least damage because he was only president for a month. And then I found out about Garfield, and he's a great president because he died, a little after Harrison did, but he leaves a lot of improbable counterfactuals for, like, this is the guy who would have restarted Reconstruction, which is probably not true. But it is something to, like, tell myself,
We talked
America's copist president.
Yeah, we talked a bit about, getting in contact with Billy Mahone and seeing if we could, readjust or use the readjuster party as part of the Republican spoils system, which that coalition is sort of, the one you would want if you were like, okay, we're gonna kick Reconstruction back into gear. But yeah, his time was cut short, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, anyway, Guiteau expected to be arrested immediately, but he's still panicked.
Yeah, he's like, obviously, the Secret Service is going to tackle me. What do you mean they don't do that?
No, that's for counterfeiting. And he still panics. He runs away for the cab, and he runs right into a police officer. And he was immediately arrested.
Just one baffled cop versus, again, Earth's weirdest boy.
I was about to say, he just assassinated the president next to the other guy who recognized him. So I don't know if...
He's also been writing letters to him following
exactly.
around. I guess between this and Kennedy, it is crazy how if you're a beat cop, run into the guy who just assassinated the president is on the list of things that can happen to you.
Yeah. Yeah,
and they said Kearney, he forgot to take the gun away. He was so shocked.
Yes.
It's like, you're under arrest. You keep this for a second, and I'll go and get back
hold
up.
on 1 second.
Yeah.
And Guiteau was like, "No, you need this. You're gonna have to put it in a museum for me."
So anyway, unlikely he would have gotten away clean. We'll talk more about what happened to him later. So, all right, the president has been shot. We got to call a doctor.
We do.
Yeah.
Is this
I see this cool engraving here. Oh my god, they blinded this child behind. Colonel Sanders is there?
Yep. All right. So the station attendants immediately assisted the stricken president, right? Blaine called for a mattress to be brought. The president was hauled upstairs to a bed on the second floor of the B&P station.
Things you want to do with a gunshot wound, right? You want to move that person as much as possible in like the least coordinated way you can.
Yes, exactly. I assume it's like the station master's apartment in there. That's why there's a bed up there.
Just throw the president anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. After the arrival of the surgeons, they all decided the president could be moved back to the White House and the real treatment could begin. It's hard to know exactly how severe the wound was. It's a large bullet, but a small hole, and the doctors are about to do a lot of stuff.
So it's a 4.42 revolver, like a 4.42 Webley, which is... Youch.
Yeah.
Big bullet.
Why was the hole so small? Is just his skin was that tough and dexterous?
It's small compared to how big it's going to be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
It's funny how, I mean, sorry, like Lincoln gets assassinated, 20 years or so earlier, and they just figure, that's never going to happen again. President doesn't need security.
It was that one specific like Civil War beef after that. Who would want to kill a guy as inoffensive as Andrew Garfield?
look, I mean, this continues for a long time. I mean, Nixon goes and hangs out with the protesters. Bill Clinton goes out on jogs and just randomly changes his route and pisses off the Secret Service. If you're president, you can just go places. They can't stop you. It's just the few that choose to do so.
Yeah, they said it would be like trying to prevent a lightning strike.
Yeah.
I sort of like it better. I like the idea that it's just a regular person and it's not this weird entity who lives in this
just
fortress.
Like a regular guy, who walks around town, and sometimes you see him. That sounds like a lot better. At least, if you live in
two separate
DC.
people have like come perilously close to killing Trump just by showing up where they know he's gonna be with a rifle.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's so amazing to me that Barack Obama's not dead.
for real.
It's just like the quality of assassins in the U.S. was just slacking in the 2010s. Like what was going on? You had, probably thousands, if not a million people who wanted to kill him. They just couldn't get their shit together.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be in the right place at the right time. I mean, both a president and vice president have visited the block my house is on. So, I mean, they're not that thorough. I didn't get, interviewed by the Secret Service, but...
Not yet, bud.
Yeah,
it's weird because they had them
First time printing out an entire podcast.
Oh my God!
That's
transcript. You imagine a judge reading this transcript? That'd be bad. I'm not.
Luckily, it's a transcript. It's already banned from entering the U.S.
Oh my God.
We'll see.
So we have to talk about Dr. Willard Bliss.
What?
Oh yes. Dr. Bliss. It's quite a name for such an incompetent man.
His first name was Doctor, and he was a doctor.
Nominative determinism.
He studied at Cleveland Medical College. He moved to Washington, D.C. He was expelled from the D.C. Medical Society in 1853 for hawking a bunch of bullshit herbal remedies. I mean, for them to say it was bullshit in 1853, they had to really be bullshit.
Yeah, it was like mostly arsenic.
Yeah.
His reputation was restored due to his medical work during the war, and he became superintendent of the Armory Square Hospital. He was readmitted to the medical society, then got into homeopathy.
Seems like a mistake.
What?
Okay.
Real lesson there. Never give somebody a second chance.
Yeah. Well, worse still.
Okay.
And what really pissed off the medical society is that he wanted to desegregate the medical society.
All right, so it's not all bad.
Yeah.
He's like, listen, I believe in like a kind of rational scientific inquiry, and I think people of any race can practice homeopathy.
Yes.
Well, he was very forward thinking. He thought he understood race as a construct, but he to a fault because he also thought germs were not real and a construct. To be fair to homeopaths, though, the guy one of his critics, who ended up being right, which we'll get to, also had trained in homeopathy. So it was like a more of a the accepted thing.
Thinking that germs are a social construct is to be honest, that one friend who's too woke.
Yeah, that's. Sometimes you got to do political science, I mean, let's look at like Lysenkoism,
Yeah.
So this idea, right? Oh, hold on. Nevertheless, the good Doctor and Garfield had been acquaintances their entire lives. So when the call went out for doctors, and he's two doctors, you got to remember, and surgeons, he managed to be one of the first on the scene and quickly got himself put in charge, right? This idea of antiseptic medicine, right? Sterilization of an equipment to reduce infections, so on and so forth. This was around at the time. In fact, I think at this point it was widely practiced in Europe. But Doctor, having been burned by the Society for Homeopathy, wanted nothing to do with it. Plus, there was more pressing matters at hand. They got to get that bullet out, right? So he went to work with his bare, unwashed hands, probing around the wound.
Just
for
stick
the
it,
bullet.
just stick it in there. Yeah.
Finger fuck the
Yeah.
president.
Yeah. Finger fuck the president. Yeah.
God, man, I wonder how clean his daily routine. I'm hoping he just like lived in a bathtub full of these soap bubbles and didn't do anything nasty.
He was
'cause,
walking around on like
it's-
horse shit infested streets.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's a miracle that he lived as long as he did with this practice.
It's cool that the guy's wearing a lab coat. I don't know why he's got a red handkerchief hanging out of the left pocket, but you know.
So he got pretty
pocket,
aggressive
right?
with searching for the bullet, right? While the fully conscious president, they gave him a lot of morphine. He's still moaning in pain. Dr. Bliss was convinced if he could just dig a little deeper, he could find the damn thing. He was clear.
Moaning too. If there was a doctor 3 knuckles deep in my fucking
back.
Yeah, that too. Had a different conception of back shots back then.
It's a new version of blowing your back out. It was clear enough to the other physicians that this is not producing results, but only one person spoke up. That was Dr. Charles Purvis, who was the only black doctor in attendance. He was like, "What the fuck are you doing, man?" And his complaints were ignored. How dare you speak up?
It's cool that the guy ignoring him and killing the president is not racist.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm not ignoring you because of that. I'm ignoring you because I'm bad as hell at my
I'm
job.
not racist. I'm just an asshole. So they return him to the White House. Against all odds, the president starts recovering fairly quickly, right? He's able to sit up. He's in good spirits, right? You know, this doesn't stop Doctor from coming in, reopening the wound, searching for the bullet every day
still
for
fucking
several
in there
days.
somewhere. So I guess we gotta
get it out.
God.
I mean, it's clearly at some point it's going to do something bad. I don't understand this. There's something about like blood poisoning or something.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Well, I have read that there are many occasions when it's actually the smarter move to just leave the bullet in there
Yes.
and like treat the wound, let it hang out, become a part of your fucking biology. You know, you can say have steel in your blood. And yeah, if you just treat the wound, you can like it taking it out can actually cause damage.
One of the worries at this point is the idea that it's going to like carry clothing and stuff into the body, and that's going to like cause infection. But apparently that's really like hit and miss. The other thing about this is that because like expanding bullets, like, you know, like hollow point bullets aren't really a thing yet, so it's just in one piece pretty much. It's like one piece of metal that's just hanging out.
It's just a hunk of metal. Yeah.
It also seems like an old-timey treatment from that era to just like shoot a ball of, you know, steel into somebody's pelvis, and that is also going to cure like lymphoma or something, is what they thought.
So anyway, he's still probing for the bullet each day, making the president miserable. He kicked out all the other doctors, including, I believe, the president's personal physician, keeps doing all these surgeries alone with only the assistance of the cabinet members' wives as nurses.
Like, no training, just like qualifications, woman.
Yeah. You're a woman. You can be a nurse.
Yeah, why not? Florence Nightingale did it.
Is this what Trump has been undoing? the mass DEI deterministic female nurses.
Cheryl Hines is going to have to like perform surgery soon.
It's gonna be an issue in the first Trump administration when you get Elaine Chao in. I mean, so on the scene in just a few days, as a stroke of luck, was one Alexander Graham Bell, right?
Oh boy.
Who had recently devised a contraption known as a metal detector, which had proven effective on several patients for just this purpose, locating the bullet, right?
Right.
He was admitted to see the president. But Dr. Bliss was very adamant about the location of the bullet, so he only allowed Alexander Graham Bell to use the device in the location where he thought the bullet was. So
Which it wasn't.
it was not there.
Of course.
The machine did not detect the bullet in the place where the bullet was not. But
Turns out there's 8 other bullets just in your body.
The
for
bunch
some
of
reason.
ones-
Recreationally shot. Like a bunch of times they thought they'd missed him in
Yeah,
Shiloh. They
exactly.
Actually,
And
he'd just been
actually they
tanking
just
those.
never
And he'd just been
noticed.
like, whatever, man.
just a flesh wound. When the machine was recalibrated, it made a weird, inconclusive sound where Dr. Bliss thought the bullet was, and he was even more convinced we got to keep looking over there.
Yeah.
And
He tanked all
no.
the Confederate bullets because it was the first time he was shot by someone who wasn't racist. It was the only time he deigned to pay it like any attention. All the other times it's like, I'll respond to that. That's beneath me.
sorry, blocked and reported. So he reopened the wound. He dug deeper into the president. His
Leave
condition,
this man's wound channels alone.
his condition began to worsen. He started to be unable to keep food down, even liquids, which leads us to feeding per rectum, as illustrated in the case of the late President Garfield and others.
And others.
When I said he was flagging fisting top, I was joking.
Yeah.
I don't
this
like
is-
that. I don't like any of those words and that order, any order. I don't like fisting time. No, that's not for Leo.
This is an actual paper published by, you will see here, the man himself.
Beef extract.
What? Oh, Jesus. Yeah, let me. Oh, no.
I'm just going to read from this for a bit here. Dr. Bliss, right, he loved shoving things up people's butts. And here was the most powerful man in the country under his care. So it was time to shove things up his butt, right?
Which, to be fair, when I first read about this case, I was led to believe, I was given the impression that he was putting these things up his butt, steak, fudge, etc., for the richness, just like the food itself would just help
What?
you. Yeah, it would just help you heal. Just the concentration
So
of
he's just
fudge.
like, oh, but we eat with
But
our butts, not with our mouths. Also, I'm not racist.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair to him, though, it was, because Garfield couldn't keep food down. So that was like how they
Just like, all
felt
right, we're
they
doing
had
it
to
up
do
the
it.
butt.
I thought it was
Okay.
just they were sticking it up. Yeah, I thought they were just doing it for
funsies,
like
yeah.
crossing their fingers that was going to work.
All right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, listen, if it comes to it, you know what? No, I'm not going to say what I was going to say. It's too parasocial already.
Case 6, the late President Garfield was some of the time entirely and all of the time very largely sustained by rectal feeding from the 14th of August until his death on September 19th, 1981.
35 days of butt feeding is too much butt feeding.
The value of this method of supplying a vast and grave disease has never been more strikingly shown
Is he a pirate?
than in this instance, because in all probability, I copied this from the PDF. Never a patient more closely observed by his medical attendants, because the quantity and quality of the rectal diet were most carefully regulated, both as to mode and time of administration. During the progressive stage of inflammation of the parotid gland, 8 days, this mode of sustenance was entirely relied upon, he being unable to take any food by the mouth and stomach, and only very small quantities of cracked ice and water, which were frequently rejected.
Something I remember hearing about and reading about this was that this was all very, very widely publicized at the time.
Oh,
People were
poor
like
Garfield.
following this at home, like in the newspaper.
Like the Super
like,
Bowl,
hey,
yeah.
hey, honey, the president just got like 8 ounces of beef stew shot up his asshole this morning.
What might call it the super bowel, actually.
Yeah. The accompanying formula for the preparation of beef extract will be substituted for receipts 9 and 14 on diet for hospitals, so on and so forth. Beef extract directions: infuse 1/3 pound of fresh beef, finely minced, in 14 ounces of cold, soft water, to which a few drops of muriatic acid and a little salt from 10 to 18 grains have been added. After digesting from an hour to an hour and a quarter, strain it through a sieve and wash the residue with 5 ounces of cold water.
Oh, so we can wash this shit.
Yeah. Pressing it to remove all soluble matter. The mixed liquid will contain the whole of the soluble constituents of the meat.
Oh my God.
And it may be drank cold or slightly warm. The temperature should drank by your butt. Temperature should not be raised above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, as at the temperature of 118 degrees Fahrenheit, a considerable portion of the albumin, a very important constituent, will be coagulated.
And in his ass it goes. All right, yeah, roll tide.
You can mix in some booze, at least get me drunk while you do it.
Hold on a second. 2 ounces of beef extract.
I'm butt chugging. Let's do this, baby.
2 grams of beef peptinoids and 5 drams of whiskey were given with scrupulous regularity every 4 hours, day and night.
No, we're not doing this 4 hours. You're
waking him up every 4 hours to be like,
whatever.
it's time for your hot beef injection.
Hot beef and whiskey injection.
In your ass. Which, like, all right, I can almost kind of deal with the whiskey in my ass, but like beef. What do you even call that? Beef tartare, we'll say? Like, that's not... I don't want that in my butt, please.
Right, you're...
At least throw some CBD gummies in there to like loosen things up and chill out a bit.
And it's before poppers were invented.
Yeah. Oh, God.
He went
That's a
to
shame.
the Lord with a lot of things, but one of them was a dilated asshole.
For the first 5 or 6 days, the yolk of an egg was added to the injections, but in the judgment of the surgeons, this was the cause of annoying and offensive flatulence.
Yeah. You're shoving an egg up his ass. What do you...
Yeah. This symptom was promptly relieved by discontinuing the egg and temporarily adding a dram of willow charcoal to the enema. Charcoal tablets.
I'm noting also that they gave opium in order to partly as an additional nerve stimulant and anodyne, so painkiller, but also to secure retention. So like they shoot the beef into him and then they give him some opium to like tighten the hole.
Hold it down.
Right?
Oh my
Like,
God.
you're pulling one of those book bags, you know, one of those.
Oh, Jesus.
See what I'm doing with my hands? The dignity of death comes for us all, man.
I am convinced, just by the insane cruelty of this man's death, he must have been destined to save us, because this country deserves nothing but pain and misery. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he's finally successful. He was just some congressman, hadn't been going anywhere. He becomes president. He kind of defeats Conkling with the patronage stuff, and then basically God is like, you cannot be successful, very much like George Costanza.
Yeah.
Curse of beef asshole upon you.
Not only do you have to die, it has to be miserable and humiliating the whole time.
Oh, and by the way, all of your co-workers' wives are nursing you, so they're also witness to you getting the fucking bouillabaisse shot up your ass.
The beef rocket. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's like your Secretary of State's wife like helping you there. So you know, just really enjoy that feeling. Fucking marinate in that.
Literally, much like the beef we're shoving up your ass. I like that as we've gone on.
Loudly to your work colleague's wife. Yeah, we had to take the egg yolk out of there because he was farting too bad. I'm a doctor, by the way.
I'm 2 doctors.
Not racist. Not racist, importantly.
It's like, oh, thank God that nice not racist doctor told me about the president's funds.
Hold on. Not racist, 2 doctors.
I love that as we've gone on as a podcast, we've gone from like engineering disasters because someone sent me an email once. I was like, you guys don't really cover like disasters in the traditional sense anymore. And I was like, no, we do societal ones and stuff like that. Sometimes we just do 25 minutes about butt injections, not injections, I guess. Just
I think the key rule is we do what we want as the thing, and this is. I don't know if I can say that this is what I want, but I can say I think it's very funny.
I don't want the beef up my ass, please. Just let me go with dignity, man.
Let's avoid this.
I mean, if this happened again, and I'm not saying I want this to happen, but if the president was shot
with the
now,
coke up his ass.
Yeah.
I mean, you would think in the modern era that wouldn't happen, but look at his fucking head of Health and Human Services.
Oh,
this would be
they
shit
are
he would come
putting the
up with.
Diet Coke enema up that man's ass.
They're putting the worm in. They're putting a new worm
the
in.
bunless Big Mac is going in there in one piece.
Oh my God! It's just a special sauce.
It's gonna be dead animals.
Pumping him full of Thousand Island dressing.
Literally
It's
dead
just like,
ass.
why is President Trump in hospital with like an IV drip of like sriracha?
Yeah.
In RFK, it'd be like getting roadkill.
Do you think he's ever had sriracha?
No, it would kill him outright. Like
unlikely.
one drop of sriracha would kill his ass.
He's more of a, I know he likes the filet of fish a lot, so maybe to be tartar sauce.
Tartar sauce and Diet Coke soup up this man's ass.
Oh my God. There was a strong
we're gonna have to
desire.
slap and not say for work on this one.
Yeah. There was a strong desire on the part of the physicians to discontinue the use of the stimulants, but on each occasion when the attempt was made, the pulse became more frequent and feeble, so that we were forced to resume their use. Later in the history of the case, after the removal...
Physician is doing a lot of work here, by the way.
No.
Yeah.
No, the other physicians were like, stop butt feeding him, man. And he was like, no.
I'm drunk.
I have to do this.
I'm the only one here who's 2 doctors, and I'm the one mincing up this beef.
I'm sorry, I'm 2 doctors, and you're only 3 doctors. We don't even have quorum here.
Hook up the butt pipe.
Yeah.
I would love to know what my wife thinks of me screaming "hook up the butt pipe."
Mm-hmm.
This is up there with the fucking Japan Airlines for me.
Yeah. I think the phrase "hook up the butt pipe" is gonna enter my lexicon.
I wonder whose job that was.
Like probably like the Secretary of War's wife.
Yeah, he has to like place the pipe in his.
Robert Todd Lincoln just like, man, I'm feeling pretty traumatized by this assassination. And then his wife comes home and is like, buddy, you're telling me I'm having to like hook up this man's ass pipes.
Please stop hooking up the butt pipe.
We'll talk about this in the next slide, but I will point out this paragraph here. The quantities carefully measured were prepared at the dispensary of the Surgeon General of the United States of America by Assistant Apothecary W.F. Cruiser, in accordance with the following formula. After the removal of the president to Elberon, Mrs. Garfield herself prepared it.
Oh, come on.
Ooh. That's a real stage of intimacy to be broaching with your wife in your like dying days, to be like, hey, you think we can try butt stuff?
Yeah.
And it's like,
we're going out like kings, man. We're going out like dead ass fucking kings, baby.
Poor Lucretia.
Yeah.
Creesh. Pour it out for Creesh.
Yeah. Pour a real drink, not the solution.
Not butt whiskey.
It's like, how did this normal style man die? Well, he was getting a lot of stuff shot up his ass by a woman named Lucretia.
Well, no, Doctor still did the actual shooting up the ass part.
I bet he did. He seemed to like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, It's still really fucking hot in Washington, D.C., right?
Oh, no. It's hot beef and whiskey up my ass.
Yes.
In summer?
In summer in D.C., there's this sort of a bunch of military engineers actually managed to improvise a sort of shitty late Victorian air conditioner, which was like,
All right.
I assume
Wow.
a steam-powered fan that blew air over a block of ice.
Jesus.
Yeah. See, that heat in DC in August, the fucking pea soup month, it really exposes the class structure of
Yes.
the region because the rich go to Maine, the middle class goes to Delaware, and then anyone who's below that just finds a meat.
Yes. Yeah, it's an unpleasant place to be.
It's where the butt meat is kept. One time I was cleaning the kitchen with Rods, and I said, "Do we have bleach?" And he handed me a bottle of bleach and then a bottle of ammonia, and I said, "I keep them next to each other in case we need a quick way out." And I think at some point I would rather just drink the butt bleach and have it be over with.
Yeah. The president was still ailing. Doctor was still fumbling around in his back to find the bullet in a place where the bullet wasn't. By July 23rd, he had this massive abscess, which was oozing pus. They drained
Surely
it.
at some point you run out of back in that area and you look elsewhere. Like,
Oh,
Yeah, I
my
mean, you're
God.
fisting a crater at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very large wound at this point.
Oh my god.
It was much larger than when it had started.
Oh my god.
Hey.
Now, when they drained the abscess, he started to improve, right? The president even took a brief cabinet meeting, but he continued to grow more and more feeble, right? He had 104-degree fever. His weight had gone from 210 pounds to 130.
Jesus. He only made it this
80
long
pounds.
because of the like Vogue for fat guys that they had to be
Bring
like,
it back.
like they were kind of right when they were like, oh, this president's strong as an ox. He only eats beef and he's like 250 pounds.
Yeah.
You know, that's my president.
I wonder who's running the show at this point because Chester Arthur, I mean, vice presidents at this point are pretty inconsequential anyway, but he's really not, he didn't want to have the job. So, like, who's running the country if he's only taken one cabinet meeting? I mean, I guess presidents didn't do much
Dr.
in
Butt
those
stuff.
days.
Yeah.
Probably.
So yeah, they would take the summers off. They also had a thing in the whole 1800s. The Congress really didn't meet the president's first year. So they would basically have a year of just doing not much. At one point, like Andrew Jackson, they just get involved in a thing called the petticoat affair, and they're just fighting
Literally
about the
the petticoat
cabinet's
affair, yeah.
wives. Yeah, so like it's not that important of a time, luckily. But yeah, they don't solve it, and then later Woodrow Wilson's wife is going to have to run the country when he's sick.
Yeah. And it was traditional for a long time until the 1950s. You just didn't do government in the summer. There was no government in the summer. It's too hot.
It's
Yeah,
too hot.
exactly.
America was only like a sort of full year-round nation with air conditioning.
There is an old saying in the D.C. area that America started to decline when they air conditioned the Capitol.
I one of the things I love about you is you'll just pull out random facts about DC. I guess you're from there, but it just makes me so happy.
Yeah, I lived in Northern Virginia, but I was frequently in a horrible helicopter city.
Yeah. I lived in Arlington, as I call it, till I was 12, and you get used to just yelling at the presidential helicopter.
Fuck
it's
you.
like 6 or 7 times a day. It's different
Stop.
fucking
Yeah.
naval.
Or it's
I,
like the motorcades, and it's
the
like
motorcades.
Yeah.
I used to live, I've said this, next to a hospital with a helipad that wasn't medevac, and I just dreamed ever since I was a little boy of having a fucking Stinger missile that I could just shoot down the fucking medevac tower. Like 3 in the morning, it's like, come on, man, you could, like, they're dead, all right, just let it go. All right, what's next for President Butt stuff? Or
What had
acting
started-
President Butt stuff, sorry.
What had started as a 3-inch bullet hole was now a monstrous 20-inch gash.
What?
Oh my
Leaking
God.
pus, clearly infected. The president was bedridden. He was septic. He was all kinds of crap, right? By September, the heat still hadn't given out. They decided, all right, we got to move the president north.
To Maine, I hope.
to Long Branch, New Jersey.
What a cruel place to die.
Yeah. A special railroad car was repaired to move him to Long Branch, New Jersey, technically the unincorporated community of Elberon. That's where the really expensive houses are up there. To a place called Franklin Cottage. And that's Franklin spelled in the worst way I've seen.
PH?
Spelled like Mormon eldest daughter.
Franklin, but
Franklin. Franklin.
This was a mansion by the sea owned by industrialist Charles Gilbert Franklin, who earned his money the old-fashioned way by inheriting it from his grandfather, Samuel Cunard.
I mean, that is pretty old-fashioned. Hard to argue with.
They chartered a special train, and they even built a temporary branch line to the mansion to drop the president off at the door.
That's cool.
Yeah.
At the door.
So now, when he suffered horrible invasive medical procedures, at
These
least
aren't
he
even
could see
medical
the
procedures.
ocean.
This is fetish stuff, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would think most doctors would look at, we have a bullet hole and it's becoming a gash. Maybe we should rethink, because the object is to make the hole smaller and have it heal, and not just have it be your entire body as just one gaping wound.
And they call it internal medicine
was
because it's supposed to stay inside of you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Again, acting president butt stuff, not your friend.
Yeah. He's doing butt stuff and back stuff.
Oh, I don't like butt and back stuff.
Yeah.
One or the other, man.
At this point, the president can't even sit up. He's still being fed rectally.
So indignant.
He begins to suffer from pneumonia and hypertension.
Just shoot him.
He's got sepsis.
That was the problem.
On September 18th, he complained of a great pain in his chest, and he couldn't even lift a glass of water. At 10:15 that evening, he asked his chief of staff, General David Swaim, for a glass of water. Then he had another enormous attack of pain in his chest. He cried out, "Oh, Swaim, can't you stop this?" And he fell unconscious. Swaim immediately called for Doctor.
Why?
bringing the crash cart, which is just a big stew pot and a long hose.
Yeah. And presumably, after some more rectal feeding attempts, proved unable to revive the president.
They're shooting up stuff they don't even know what it is. They've got some Zabalion in there. It's wild.
He was pronounced dead at 10:30 that evening.
Thank God.
Chester A. Arthur took the oath of office the following day.
Dude, if you kept me alive for 35 days with butt stuff, exactly.
Yeah.
You mean this crazy person who is going to functionally kill me with like beef enemas?
Yeah. And he's going to split my back apart with his bare hands.
I don't
over the course of several months.
I don't like that one of our presidents died
It was always
due to
sus to
butt
me
chugging.
that they are known for having illegible handwriting, and that's just like an accepted thing. Where with doctors' notes are very important. We should be demanding that they get better penmanship, even if it's not pretty. Just let us...
Are you writing some shit about how you want to fist fuck my back, you sick freak?
I gotta tell you, president died from butt chugging is such an indignant way to go.
Yeah. He could have been a great president.
Alas.
I
remember I tweeted once because I was writing Katrina. I promise it's coming. And I was just like talking about the indignity of death from the book One Dead in an Attic. Go read it. And the OnlyFans bot showed up, and I was just like, "Come on, man! Let this poor guy who died alone in his attic have a little peace in the afterlife."
Yeah. Wow.
Well, you know who else had a very public death?
Jesus.
Yes.
Well, a guy who thought he might have been Jesus.
Yes. What happens to Get Out?
He is going to the Lordy. He is so glad.
After his arrest, he was taken to the jail by one Lieutenant Eckloff. And only once he was at the police station did they remember to disarm him, right?
You fucking idiot.
Meanwhile, his assassination is working in slow motion.
A man named Mr. McElfresh asked what political party he belonged to, and the reply was, "I am the stalwart of the stalwarts. I have shot Garfield to make."
Garfield.
Oh, God. Oh, that's not good. That's not good. Damn. Got poop.
This feces, it seeps into our brains and our verbiage.
Garfield.
Yeah. I have shot Garfield to make Arthur president. What are you?
he's like a grind set guy now. Guy's got to be getting these patronage jobs. You have to be capping the president, and be completely public and transparent about it too. That's how you get
it's
ahead.
gonna make
Money
prosecution
mindset. I
easy,
bet
yeah.
this guy's not even ambassador to shit.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Gitcho is informed. I'm a detective. And Gitcho said, "All right, give me a room in the 3rd story, and I will arrange with General Sherman to make you chief of police."
How's this go for him?
Listen, you got to start working on the patronage stuff from day one.
Exactly. And this was sort of generally what he thought was going to happen. It's like, damn, I'm going to get all those patronage jobs now. I'm going to be able to distribute them, right? We brought back the spoil system, boys.
It's good to have dreams, boys.
Is it kind of the logic of like when you go to prison, you beat up the biggest guy?
Yeah,
to,
the
like, show
biggest
that you
guy
can-
in the United States, the president.
The president of the United States.
He took Prison Planet very literally.
But since Gitcho hadn't immediately killed the president, they charged him with attempted murder, but he was finally indicted on regular murder October 14th, right?
Yeah, they finally got over the line.
Yeah.
Really, he doesn't deserve the credit for that. That was
No,
all
that was all Dr. Dog.
Which is
Dr. Buttchug,
which
yeah.
is, and that is a defense Guteau made in court.
I think a pretty good one.
Yeah, he was right to do it. Like,
Because there were people saying to Bliss, like, stop, like, wash things.
Stop
Don't do it
doing
this
butt
way.
chugging,
And he
right.
was, and he was a very stubborn man, as was Garfield. He felt a loyalty to Dr. Buttchug for whatever reason, and you dug their own grave.
I think when
or
you're
at
like,
least one
you're
grave.
up to the elbow in the president, kind of like puppeteering him like Sesame Street.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. That's like a new intervening act. You
That's-
know?
that's-
telling the
sunk-
president of the United States, I'm going to make you a slutty little Kermit is not how you want to go out.
That's sunk cost fallacy in the sense that the doctor's fist is sunk into your back. Yeah.
I think Bliss had been in charge of something in the Civil War, like taking care of soldiers. But like famously in the Civil War, 2/3 of the soldiers died of disease, so they weren't doing a great job back then either.
Yeah, I mean, this guy was in charge of a whole hospital, and presumably he was doing the same treatment on like thousands
Well, you'd
of
hope that the
19-year-olds.
The limiting factor would be that he's only got 2 arms.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And
That's a good point.
there's only
I-
24 hours in a day, so assuming
they
he's
call me
like
48 Fister, baby.
oh shit, this
just
guy, this
straddling 2 beds, arm in each patient.
don't let that guy heal naturally. Stick your fist in there right now.
Fuck me.
Thank God he wasn't good at delegating.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he was really good because he was the only one who didn't really do anything at the hospital. He could only operate on a couple of patients.
It's hard when you're trying to make human ventriloquist dummies, you know?
We have the highest survival rate in the entire North because we don't really do anything.
Because we try not to backfist our patients, yes.
So here we are. We're at the trial of the century, right? He pleads not guilty by reason of temporary insanity.
That's fair. That's fair.
Well, when the expert witnesses were brought in by the defense, this was amended to permanent insanity.
Good enough.
You know, this was clearly very mentally disturbed man, but the court wasn't having it.
I think he deserves his own designation, like Gateau mode or something like that.
You've heard of sicko mode. Now get ready for assassinating the president with some help from Backfist Doctor.
Yeah. There's lots of antics at this trial, right? Gateau, he swore and insulted at the judge. He testified in the form of epic poems.
What?
He traded notes asking for legal advice from the audience.
Oh, you get your money's worth in the public gallery for this. You're sitting in the front row. You get handed a note by the defense, Charles Gateau, that just says,
Do you
"What
like
do
me?"
I do?"
Yes, no.
It's like, oh, I'm so fucked. What do I do?
As we mentioned, probably the best argument was that he hadn't killed Garfield, that his doctors did, which is, again, true, but beside the point, in a case of first-degree murder. Throughout all of it, he was sure he would be exonerated, right? He started making plans for a lecture tour and then a presidential run himself.
Okay.
He had no idea how unpopular he was. Everyone hated him. People were like spitting at him when he was being brought up and down the street in, the police carriage. He was, people were screaming at him. People were giving him, rude gestures, so on and so forth. He thought he was doing great. It turns out there's only so much self-affirmation can do, because he was found guilty on January 25th, 1882, and sentenced to hang.
So the power of positive thinking only gets you that far.
Yeah, exactly.
He had written his own autobiography from jail, and he included in it that he wanted to find a young Christian lady under 30. So he was ready.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
All right. It's good to have dreams, my guy.
I think worse
Stay
than
optimistic.
worse than writing it, he dictated it to a New York Herald
Can you imagine
journalist.
being that poor son of a bitch, having to listen to that shit be dictated?
Also,
There's
two people
still-
in the public almost shot at him, like attempted to shoot him.
Yes.
And the whole time, bullets are bouncing off the paddy wagon. He's like, I'm winning them over.
I think I got it.
Oh, you son of a bitch. I think we've got this.
Wow, they're throwing rice like it's a wedding. They're just really big grains. He was still throwing tantrums all the way to the gallows. He started demanding a pardon from Chester A. Arthur because,
Watch out. He might shoot him.
listen, I've increased your salary. Come on. And he was
Not a bad
writing
point.
more terrible poetry.
Oh, God. I used to do that in high school. I've
Yeah.
been scrubbed from the earth, thank God.
Yeah. He was hanged on June 30th, 1882.
Finally.
He danced up the steps. He
This
waved
is
at the
beautifully
spectators.
staged
Yes.
in the Sondheim musical Assassins. There's not really good video of it, but you can see somebody snuck in a sort of like camcorder to the like original Broadway sort of like cast with Neil Patrick Harris, and yeah, it's really, really good.
He shakes the hand of the executioner, and he takes a moment to read to the crowd the last of his truly awful poems, I Am Going to the Lordy.
I am going to the Lordy. I am so glad.
Make
He
it
believes
stop.
he's finally unified the Republican Party and saved the country.
Sure.
And
Oh,
he
yeah, man.
dies thinking that.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good to have dreams,
Oh.
man.
He was played by Dennis O'Hare in the Broadway version. It's really good.
He had asked to have an orchestra there so he could sing the poem. They do agree to. They let him, as he finishes the poem and he drops the paper, and that's when they hang him. So they let him kind of stage manage his own hanging, which is kind of fun.
Hell
That's
yeah.
That's kind of funny.
Listen,
Yeah.
live and die a theater kid.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Based on his performance at the Sex Cult, I mean, theater kids, they get laid a little bit more than that. Come on.
You'd hope.
More than
Yeah.
poets,
Mm.
I would
That's a good
say.
point.
What was his? Roses are red, violets are blue. You get shot in the pelvis, and
What do you do?
Where you eat, where you poo. Yeah.
Also, butt fisting.
Yes. Chester A. Arthur, ironically, finally does away with the
Yeah.
beloved spoil system. He kills it entirely. It's gone.
You can still get a sort of like ambassadorship or a consulship based on just like donating a lot to the presidential candidate who wins. So
Can't be.
And that was really the ingredient he was missing.
Yeah, I think after this, everyone has to look at the spoil system and say, if it's going to get one of these guys going crazy, we may have to dump this one, guys. I don't think we can do this anymore. Because Arthur was a stalwart. He was very in favor of the spoil system. And he's like, we're going to have to get rid of this.
It is funny to me that he, in a way, Guteau was somewhat ideologically driven, but for the spoil system, like kind of the opposite of Luigi. Instead of like trying to do away with this flawed, corrupt system, it's like, no, it needs to work on my behalf, and this is good for humanity.
Yes.
There was thought that there was a thought that Arthur and Conkling, they were just going to like rob the entire country, basically that they were going to be what Musk and Trump are now, and people were worried. But then Arthur finds a conscience.
Yes, but I mean, the thing here is, it's like the assassination sort of, it weakens the Republican Party. I mean, Garfield is highly respected for the remainder of the term and then sort of forgotten about. Chester A. Arthur's health starts failing him towards the end of the term. He's like, I'm not doing so great. My presidency has not been super popular. He tries to sort of continue some of James Garfield's policies, notably trying to distribute patronage in Virginia through the Readjuster Party, but he just doesn't have it in him to like really follow through here. He does not seek the nomination for a second term. He has not unified the party because he's still, he's got that stalwart on him, and a lot of the party has moved a different way. So they put up James G. Blaine in 1884. And Blaine loses to Grover Cleveland, who proceeds to destroy what little remained of Southern Republicanism and the fledgling Readjuster Party in Virginia. And all of a sudden we got
bearded presidents. And from then on, after that, the deluge.
Exactly. That's when we get poll taxes and literacy tests and segregation. All this stuff comes in really quickly. That was like the final... The end of Reconstruction was because of
one mustachioed
weird guy. Yeah. Could have had something great, and we didn't. That's gone very poorly.
I really enjoyed this one. Let's do more presidential assassinations as a subject for the podcast to discuss.
Yeah.
Caught myself in the middle of saying it.
It's fun. They are disasters if they succeed or they fail, and both are disasters in a sense.
Yeah.
Isn't it like 3:30 your time, Nova?
Yes, it is.
What have we learned?
Get a real doctor, maybe.
I would say if your friend is a doctor who's not very good,
get another doctor.
Let's a general rule with professional services: don't hire your good friend.
No, because then you're gonna be put in a situation where you know they're fucking it up. They're like fist deep in your back, and you've got to be like, no, this is great. Probably. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a doctor. You're a doctor, so like I'm just gonna let you do whatever.
Fisting.
Yeah.
I do think this probably helped medicine in the long run. Like they learned from this.
Bad.
This did help germ theory become more accepted because it was kind of a fringe thing at first.
Yeah, I mean, it had been widely accepted in Europe at this point, but in America, no, not really. It's very this is one of the worst ways I think anyone has died ever. This is like up there with like the guy who got stuck upside down in the cave. I mean,
It's one of the worst ways someone with like every other physical comfort could die. Like it died with a lot of like money and resources and like a lot of fucking really nice pillows, I assume.
Yeah.
But also in agony and getting like kind of like beef Wellington shoved directly into his duodenum.
It's more of a liquidy Salisbury steak. Yeah. Oof. We have a segment on this podcast called Safety Third. If anyone wants to go through it today, I don't know. It's a little late. All right, we'll skip it and we'll do this next episode.
All right.
Our next episode will be on Chernobyl. Does anyone have any commercials before we go?
Yes, I am at Anders Lee here on social media. Also on the Pod Damn America podcast is the name of the podcast that I'm on with Jake Flores. Check that out. We just moved to YouTube. We're also doing, regular podcast feed, Patreon, and The Vanquished, which I do with Fred. You can find that on YouTube as well. We record everything with video. Some of it is in person. We've got a lot of great ups there about with yourselves on the Prohibition Party, Marco Rubio, Michael Dukakis, Jesse Jackson, whole lot of folks. So check that out. It's called The Vanquished.
Exciting. Yeah. I like the Vanquish podcast. It's a good one. Again, Liam and I have been on there. I have to plug The Worst of All Possible Worlds. I was on there just recently. I went up to New York City and everything to go record with them. By the way, I love going up to New York City to record podcasts. None of you people come to Philadelphia, so I have to go up there. We recorded an episode on the film Falling Down. It's a film about being an engineer who's pissed off. It's great. And then you walk home in a straight line. Go listen to that one.
Nova, any commercials?
No, nogodsnomayors.com. It's a podcast about mayors. It's a good time.
10,000 losses. All right, we're done.
What is the president if not a mayor of the United States of America?
Basically, the mayor.
Everybody hit stop on your recordings.